Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show!
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Yes, it's Friday to all across the Delaware Valley. Happy weekend to all. This is the Anthony Gargano Show, brought to you by Rite Aid, your neighborhood pharmacy. Visit your local Rite Aid today. Stock up on allergy relief. I need some. Or catch up on immunizations for RSV, shingles. Walk in or schedule a vaccine appointment at riteaid.com. Let's start off Phillies. And we saw the Ranger Suarez dealing. You know, he was the guy that a lot of us thought would really have that step up, that jump. You're always looking for ceiling, right? You open the season, you go, all right, like, you know what you're going to get from Bryce. You know what you're going to get, from Zach Wheeler. Now, who else can step up? And Ranger Suarez, man, looked great last night. Between the drops and the bad weather, Ranger gives you 6 strong, allows only 2 hits, 6 shutout innings, only 2 hits, 2 walks, and he struck out 8. So the Ranger solidifying himself and that 3 spot. Look, you know what? If Ranger takes that step up from a 3 to a 2, and like you got a Wheeler who's a true 1, you got Nola who can fluctuate like from a 2C to a 2B. Maybe even to a 2, and then, you put Ranger there. I mean, that makes them really strong. That 1, 2, 3, and then with Turnbull, we'll see him this weekend against Pittsburgh. Sanchez will pitch tonight. Phillies, good win, and you take it. Listen, Pittsburgh is not a bad team. They have some pretty good young players. O'Neal Cruz, Sawinski, Chris Reynolds is always good. That's a good team. And so that's a nice win last night. And, of course, with the bats, Marsh. Oh, my. Marsh is the hottest Philly to start the season. Make him play every day, Topper. 4 home runs for Marsh. Daycare led the way last night. You had Stott and Bohm both going yard. Phil's good win last night against the Pirates. All right. Now, the shocker of all shocker took place last night at Madison Square Garden. And I'm still stunned by it. The Fly Guys. Oh, my. There's still a sliver of hope for the Flyers to make the playoffs. And I got to give credit to my man, Violations Greg. VG said to me the other day, he goes, this is not even yesterday. I think it was Wednesday. It was after they got blitzed. And after we saw Tortorella come out, and he was very subdued. Remember, they get absolutely annihilated, right? And after the game, Tortorella's subdued. And he's actually showed some empathy to his players. And so Torts is calm. So VG said, a calm Torts means a victory against the Rangers. And we're looking at, dude, I don't know. The way they're just yielding goals, the way Ursan looks against the Rangers. Like, I know they're the 1 seed and they're, really have nothing to play for. But, my God, I mean, they're going to go in and beat the Rangers? VG called it 4-1. And it was funny. They go Cam York scores the first goal. It's 1-0. I'm going, the Rangers right now, let's see if they can hold, Rangers tie it. And so I'm going, well, see, here, then now the Rangers go and blitz them. And it never happened. And so I give credit to my man VG as the Flyers keep their hopes alive with the subdued torts and a calm locker room. Flyers take care of the Rangers last night. We'll see. All right, you got the last week, a big week ahead. So who knows? You got a shot right now. And then Sixers. So today at 1:00, the Sixers will unveil a new statue. So I love the Heroes Walk at their facility in Camden. I'm a big statue guy. I'm a loser. I like that stuff because, in my past life, when I was a writer for the New York Post, I did a lot of Yankee stuff, right? And so I would be at the old Yankee Stadium and you'd be at Monument Park. And I'd look and I'd see all those, historic players, right? Like these just legends. And all I kept thinking was I was jealous, right? Like in Philadelphia, we don't have that. We had a couple statues that were great. Bobby Clark and Steve Carlton outside the Spectrum. They got moved, right? And now that the Citizens Bank Park's got them, it's great. But I'm like, we don't have like that collection of statues. The Sixers have done something cool at the facility in Camden. And I love this. So today, the Allen Iverson statue gets unveiled at 1:00. And then tonight, Sixers Magic. So this is it. This is the last weekend of the regular season. A lot's going to happen. So let's see where the Sixers. They're still alive for the 6th seed. That, of course, is everybody's want. You get the 6th seed, at least stay in the 7th spot so that you can take on Milwaukee. But if they're 6 or 7, you got to feel great about their chances. It looks like that's where it's headed. You got Orlando tonight and then Brooklyn at 1:00 on Sunday. So that's your schedule for the weekend. Both NBA and NHL season. NBA got 1 weekend left. NHL goes into next week. And then we'll see where the Sixers are for the spring run and if the Flyers can get in. Now, the other thing that happened yesterday, we talked about it during the show, at the end of the show, the death of OJ Simpson. Now, we all know the whole story of OJ Simpson, right? But I just wanted to bring it back to Philadelphia for a second. There was a great story in the Inquirer today. But it's amazing, and it really speaks to the evolution of sports when it comes to drafting, when it comes to, roster construction and what you're doing, the whole thing. So in 1968, which predates all of us, O.J. Simpson is the clear number 1 pick in the draft. Like, he's the franchise game changer. And in that point in time, it was a run game, right? Like, the run game in the NFL ruled. There was no, it wasn't like today. It was completely the opposite. But he was that good, and he was a franchise type of game changer. The Eagles that year started off 0-11. 0-11. They then win on Thanksgiving Day. Tom Woodishek, I'm sure Ray Divinger lived this moment, man. I know he did. He talks about it. Then they wind up losing the last game of the season. The fans are freaking out. Joe must go. Joe Kuharich, which is infamous in town. Like, they hated this organization, how it was run. It was run with abject stupidity. And here it is. Instead of laying down on the last day of the season, they win. And they blow a chance at drafting O.J. Simpson. And when I read the story, it was interesting. It just takes me back to today, right? Like, we had the process where it wasn't just a game they laid down in. They laid down a whole season, not just one season, multiple seasons, right? Like, just to kind of reset the franchise. And it's just kind of a stark reality in how sport has changed through the years, the evolution of sports. And by the way, it was the right thing to do to lay down. Just like I agree with the process, just like there's been some moments with the Eagles where you looked at it like the last game or two. Listen, that's all part of it. Like, that's called gamesmanship. Like, you got to set yourself up. The idea of winning meaningless games and hurting your draft stock is just antiquated. I mean, let's be real for a second, right? The worst possible place you can be for a franchise is what? Purgatory. And that means you're, the old 7-8 or 8-9. That's where you're, the 500 basketball team. You're not going to draft a game changer. You may eke into a playoff spot. You're going to get pasted. You may not even get into the playoffs. It's a third place finish in Major League Baseball. It just leaves you in a no man's land and difficult way to get out of it. So the lesson of OJ Simpson lives today with the Sixers. And now on the last weekend of the season, to maybe take the process into new heights. So we have a lot of stuff for you. I got my man JP I'm going to get to in a second. But here on the show, we got the captain, Pat Croce. I love Pat. We go back a long, long time. One of the great Philadelphians. Pat is going to be at the Allen Iverson statue unveiling today. So we'll talk to Pat. He's always inspirational, the captain. Then we got the Daily Grind with our buddy, the Big Brain. At 10 o'clock, the Meatlocker Mock Draft with Baldy. So we go with our first mock draft, Meatlocker 1.0 mock draft. Derek Bodner to make sense of the last weekend of the NBA season and what will happen and the future of the Sixers. We'll have our Cousins Clubhouse. And, of course, Fridays, we reintroduce our man TV Todd. So it's a weekend. We're all sports heads, but we want to give you something to watch. It could be date night. We want to give you something to watch for date night. TV Todd will hang with us and give us some of his picks, some good stuff for you to watch. Good morning, JP.
Buenos dias, cuz.
How are you?
I'm doing great. And if I could start this off, cuz, so obviously you're bringing up the 1969 NFL Draft. So first off, the Eagles didn't even fall to the second overall pick. They fell to the third overall pick. Cuz, who did they select the third overall? Do you remember? All right, so this is going to kill you. So this is
I wasn't there. Yeah.
Leroy Keys.
Leroy Keys.
Running back out of Purdue.
Remember that.
He was selected right before Mean Joe Green. And the best part about Leroy Keys is that in 71, they switched him to strong safety.
Think about how bad. Think about the Eagles and how good the Eagles are now. And now think about how tragically bad the Eagles franchise was run. It's no wonder you had people throwing snowballs. It's no wonder you had people with bags over their heads. When I was a little kid, I went to my father. Mm-hmm. And every year he would ask, because I was just an Eagle nut, right?
Yeah.
And my father would ask me every year, and this is when they played 14 games, mm-hmm. right? And he'd say, Dad, what do you think? What's your record? I would go, 11-3, Dad, playoffs. And he'd laugh like, yeah, no shot, kid. they freaking blow. All right, like they stick. And they stunk, from the 60, that championship year, up until Vermeil comes and kind of resets the franchise. And they were epically bad. Like they were horrendous. And that OJ Simpson moment was it. That was supposed to be their game changer. And you mentioned it, Mean Joe Green, and then you go down to Leroy Keys, a running back, and they switched to safety.
But I've heard you bring it up before, but like my generation is truly spoiled. I mean, like for me, like I grew up with Andy. And we had that couple year with Chip Kelly, but then you go to Doug Peterson.
But even the Chip Kelly thing, the first year to make the playoffs.
It was really fun offense.
And it was interesting, right? Like the first game is like a video game. Deshaun Jackson and, Vic. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, and then a couple games later, Nick Foles comes in, and Nick Foles gives us a great season. But No, like I even think about like I remember watching Invincible, and you watch like Vince Papale in the 700 level, like they're playing the Bengals, they're getting killed.
Yeah, dude. Like it was now. I kind of my remembrances start like in the late 70s, like, and they were. I mean, the old timers, the old heads would be like they stink, like they're horrible. You wonder why the old heads always had a bad like attitude. Like so when I was like of the spoiled generation.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pocket of spoiled generation, and it happened in like the early 80s, like 1980, like they were all four in the championship game. So, and all four, Eagles in the Super Bowl, Sixers in the NBA Finals, Phillies in the World Series, and the Flyers were in the
Stanley Cup. How fun of a year was that?
Oh my God. I remember like it was like I think it shaped my life.
Okay.
Because when they tease me about being jolly Charlie and always optimistic, I think back to that moment because that was the formative year of my life. I'm 10, 11 years old, right? And all teams are winning, and I'm happy, right? Like so, and I think it just shaped how I was. Then they go bad again, right? Everybody kind of goes bad again, but I was already like optimistic. I thought that all was possible.
Yeah.
So you actually had the same optimism. You have the same optimistic kind of sports genes.
I do. I think for me more so, like I do it because like if I don't, I'll drive myself crazy because like I'm like you, I love these teams so much. But like even like you're like 22 is like the perfect example, right? Like you got the Birds in the Super Bowl, the Phillies in the World Series. Hey, even our soccer team was in the MLS Cup final, and so all of them lose in their respective championship games. And so it's easy to just go down on these teams, but like you have to think of the bigger picture. How hard is it for your city to be in so many championships in one season? It's heartbreaking to lose all of them, but that's just kind of the life that we do live. But you got to look at those positives, and it keeps moving with every season, every team.
Listen, it's a never-ending soap opera.
And they'll give you
like
positives.
It's what we do, right? Like it's our saga that we live daily. Like it's always changing. It's a great storyline, right?
Yeah.
You throw all the 5 teams, and you're watching. You live and die with them every night. It's a part of your life. That's why we do this.
Yeah. It'd be nice to be Boston every once in a while, but I don't want to be the spoiled kids.
Dude, don't bring that up. How was your gala? So JP was at the
awesome.
Union Gala last night.
It was a lot of fun, cuz. So a lot of great. Well, first off, thank you to the Philadelphia Union for inviting us. It was spectacular. It was my first gala event. Renee was
the Crystal Tea Room.
The Crystal Tea Room,
which is a magnificent place in the city.
Oh my God, it was absolutely gorgeous in there. They set it up really nicely. Had some great auction items in there. We had a Zach Wheeler baseball autograph, some other Philly sports greats. Renee was walking me through my first gala. Shouts to Renee Washington, PHLY Phillies and PHLY Union. So Hollis Thomas was there. Hollis was having a good old time. We had Daniel Gazdak, Jakob Glezis of the Union. So it was really awesome to see. We did miss you, cuz. It would have been nice to see you out there.
Yeah, I'll get to one of these things. Yeah. I was at a youth baseball game last night.
Hey,
it was the wind was whipping, and they were trying to get the game in before the raindrops. Right, like it was one of those deals.
It was like Bryce Harper's 3 home run game.
Coach Warren's like, dude, let's go, let's move it, boys. Let's hurry up. Our morning openings course is always popping off with Olipop. Find your favorite Olipop flavor at your nearest Wawa. It's going to be a fun weekend. What did AI? Did you catch AI? Does AI predate you?
I was really young for it, so like I didn't understand like the nuances of basketball. But like when I was like in my early teenage years, YouTube started coming around. It was him and Randall. I used to watch so many YouTube highlights.
Randall was
yeah.
Well, interesting because Allen was like you couldn't take your eye off him. Like he was just amazing ball of energy. Come up later in the Friday 5 that I have like an AI question that I want to give you guys, but it was just a ball of fire. Like he was amazing. Like just you couldn't take your eyes off him.
Yeah.
And of course he was just such a polarizing figure. He's wild. He was a lot of fun. The stories are crazy that surround him. And he was just a character, man. Like the world needs characters.
For sure.
And he was a character. And keeping him intact and helping guide him along was, of course, the great Pat Croce.
Yeah.
He
was the heartbeat of that basketball team for so long. We'll talk about it with Pat Croce. I'm sure he's going to give us some great stories as well.
That's my main man. He's amazing, dude.
Yeah, but with AI, listen, I think we all need to remember that sports is entertainment, and AI brought it on and off the court. He was a personality in his own right. I mean, listen, we talk about just like him setting pop culture trends. Like everyone wanted to have the cornrows, everyone wanted to wear the baggy clothes, the sleeve. He really brought the sleeve around too, and a lot of shooters after that started wearing that as well. But even like, you always make fun of us about like those uniforms from those back in those days. But I really think that AI rocking it, playing as well as he did with those uniforms really made it a big deal as well.
Do me a favor, Andrew. Can you get Pat the link? Because Pat said he has no link. So, Andrew, our fine producer, do you need me to send it? We're going to do this live.
I sent it to his email.
Yes, but he obviously didn't get it.
I'll send another one.
I'll make you. I'll send you his contact, so this way you can make sure you do it.
Get Croce in here.
What's that?
We'll get Croce in here.
Yeah. Pat's coming up, so it'll be good. Friday 5, TV Todd, the grind. Matt, did you watch any Masters?
No, so I'm gonna sit down this weekend. I'm gonna get myself. So I've never been really much of a golf guy. So I'm learning this year.
This
is gonna be awesome.
Listen, dude, it's
gonna be a great time.
I love it. There's nothing about like majors that are fantastic. They're a lot of fun. All right, let me tell you about the Bet Parks app. Now, coming up in a little bit, we're going to talk to the big brain, and Brad will give us all kinds of picks. And all those picks that we do daily on the grind, you could find on the Bet Parks app. It's phenomenal. So, like, if you want to play casino games and have, between innings, right, real live dealers, they have that sort of thing. It's all the action from the Great Parks Casino right there in your pocket on your phone. It's amazing, but they have everything. So, you want baseball, you want same game parlays. We got, NBA playoffs, hockey. It's all there on the Bet Parks app. You can do parlays with money lines. You can go live in-game. In-game is a good secret weapon because if you're watching a game, you usually have a feel as to what's happening, right? And you could see, if you kind of look at it, I think it gives you your best advantage because you can kind of gauge it before things change. And they offer live in-game betting. And right now, you win your first $10 bet, you earn $125 in sportsbook bonus bets. Look, you play for fun, you love to win, you Bet Parks. Download the app, play along with us. Got to be 21 or older. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, the other day we had a food drop because Philadelphia's always about food, and it was Primo Hoagies. And I like the look on everybody's faces was just priceless. It's why I love it, because I love when people are happy, and food makes Philadelphians happy, especially Primo Hoagies. We're getting to that time of the year. Graduation parties in the spring, right? You got, baseball games. You got gatherings all over. So during that time, when you're looking to cater an event, right, a gathering, kids, graduation, parties, whatever it is, Primos. Oh, and then the array of Primo Hoagies, endless. Everybody loves it. It's the greatest treat on that incredible roll, baked in store every couple hours. It's the great Primo Hoagies. It's amazing. From their first store in 1992, I remember it, right on Rittner Street. Sandwich shops on every corner. They needed to stand out with something truly special. Their secret, the quality of ingredients that go into every hoagie, from the finest meats and cheeses to their award-winning seeded bread. Primo Hoagies committed to crafting sandwiches that sets the standard for excellence. Become a Primo Rewards member. Get $2 off a Primo-sized hoagie every Wednesday. All right? Do yourself a favor. What do you call it, a hoagie? Sub, grinder? I don't know. We call it a hoagie. That's it. You can taste the Primo difference. Just remember, go to PrimoHoagies.com And remember what I always say, it's not just a hoagie, it's a primo. All right. We got our man coming up. We're still waiting to get our man.
He's
Pat.
trying to connect right now. He'll be
All
here
right.
in a minute.
So we'll have Pat coming up in just a moment. All right. One of the things, I got the Friday Five that we're going to throw at. I'm going to give you the question. I always love for the people watching at home to play along, right? Like just, it's good stuff for you to exercise your brain. So today marks the 20-year anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. I'm going to get to that coming up in a minute. It's the 20-year anniversary of CBP, but we got the man with us. He's going to be going, look at him. He just makes me smile. He is the one, the only, Pat Croce. Good morning, Captain.
How you doing, Bones? Good to see you.
You look great, man. And so you just look fantastic.
Thank you. Great to be with you. Like old times. 30 years ago.
Can you believe that? Show him the tattoo that we got. SPQR.
Oh, no, mine was you got that one.
Yeah. You got the one?
Here's a new one.
Oh man. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. JP, oh my God. That's phenomenal.
That is awesome.
Captain.
Well, my birthday, Bones, is on November 2nd, Day of the Dead, so I needed my own sugar skull. And it's smoking a cigar with the band that says 70.
Oh my God. That's outrageous. Look at it.
AI should like it today.
Oh, AI's going to love it. And so you're going to the Allen Iverson statue unveiling. And just when you think about the essence of time and you think back to that part of your life as the owner and steward of that franchise and what he meant, what comes back first? What are some of the memories that come back to you?
Bones, it was only 5 years when I was in that role. You remember me for a dozen years as the physical therapist for the team. However, those 5 years seemed like an eternity because it was full-time all the time, especially with Bubba Chuck, especially with AI. And I got to say that, and I am a high-energy individual. Even at peace, I'm a high-energy individual.
Yes.
However, he tended to detonate me so that the energy was off the charts. He made me celebrate and everyone around me celebrate. He reminds me of pure lightning bolt of celebration. Look at all the times we stood up and cheered, even if we would have lost. Even the first year in '96, when we lost, we only won 22 games out of that 82-game schedule. However, how much excitement and energy and enthusiasm and hope he brought to all the fandom. I mean, every time we jumped up every time he did something crazy.
It was what a show, right? Like you were always about. No one had an eye to create a show, as a promoter, like your vision, and he was perfect for you because the show is bigger than life.
Way bigger. And back in the day, so we took over a team that had only won 18 games and they were in last place and no one was coming to the games. I think 3,000 ticket holders. However, I knew I could control the show on the court, meaning the dance team, the halftime entertainment, whether it was Patti LaBelle or Boys to Men, the national anthem singer, all the giveaways. However, it meant nothing without the wins. It's all about wins and losses. Unlike most businesses where it's profit and loss, professional sports is wins and losses. And when Bubba Chuck came on, when we won him with that first pick in '96, when I won the lottery and got him, then all of a sudden the show morphed from just this entertainment to basketball. And we knew that if these players sprinkled gasoline and kerosene over the entire Delaware Valley, Philadelphia, South Jersey, Delaware, with giving of their time, community investment of time, sharing it, whether it's Children's Hospital or McGee Rehab Hospital or any of their own personal community initiatives, that one day the show and the basketball would become the show. Maybe not the LA show, but it would definitely be a Philadelphia kind of show.
And it turned out that way. I mean, one of the most amazing runs that we still reference, one of the great teams. And I feel blessed to have kind of, shared it with you and taking those trips to Milwaukee and Indiana and doing our shots of Sambuca and and watching. And, there's you in the bridge with Ace and like this. It was just such a wonderful time. I still have my Sixers tattoo that I got.
Oh.
Like, it was just the best.
Now, while you keep that logo in perpetuity, see, that was a cool logo. And people don't realize that AI, Bubba Chuck, had influence in that logo. If you see the way that logo moves, the energy in that ball swishing under the 76ers, that's Bubba himself.
Oh,
and that's what the documentary is about. This new documentary, I think it's, whether it's Seth Curry or LeBron James's company, production company, they're in town yesterday, today, and tomorrow to film a variety of people, including his family and some of us that were with the team back in that 96 to 2001 run. And it's really about not only his basketball prowess, but he was a brand changer, a revolutionary brand changer. I mean, look what he did. I mean, Michael Jordan, yes, with the bald head and the long shorts, but then Bubba, I mean, David Stern wasn't happy with everything he did, but it flowed onto the court and into the community, all communities across the world.
Yeah, you remember the All-Star? It was the All-Star game with Jordan and Allen, and it's funny because he was at the sea change. He was part of that sea change in society that you reference. Like Mike, they all wore suits to the games. You remember that whole story, and then Allen was never going to wear a suit. There was never all that stuff. He wanted to be. He had his friends with him. It was like that was going to be his thing, and you saw the changing of the guard during that period of time.
Bubba, listen, Bonesy, about Bubba, here's a story most people don't even know. He gets the Rookie of the Year. Remember that 96, 97 season? He gets the Rookie of the Year. We take pictures of him with the NBA brings down photographers. We take pictures of him. Remember, he had a white, like a skull cap. It looked like a bathing cap on.
Yes.
With a Reebok on the back. Well, they weren't using any of the photos because they said it was jailhouse messages. And I called David. I had to call David and say, David, what are you talking about? This has nothing to do with prison rock. It's got Reebok on the back of it just because it's different. I mean, this is who he was. So you got to allow him to. I mean, then eventually the pictures were released, but not at the time we shared when he was exposed to getting that trophy. They hid it. He never saw any of it.
Wow, that's wild. That's so interesting. And I remember it's tattoos, right? That was the other thing because he was first really in the NBA to have sleeves, like stuff that became, popular in pop culture, and now everybody's got ink and the whole thing. You were right there with them. And like that was another piece because people would complain about that. Oh, it's so different. Why is he had tattoos? That's jailhouse stuff.
I mean, from the cornrows to the tattoos to not wearing the suit. So what?
Right.
So what? No, and that's really where he had an influence on our culture. And I don't see it as a negative influence. I see it as change, accept change. People resist change, so they suffer. You're suffering. You choose to suffer. If he chooses to be himself, and this is a comfortable way, so be it. Michael liked his suits, like Pat Riley liked his suits.
Yes.
Allen liked his Timberlands and his pants that fell down to his knees. So what?
Yes.
Listen, you want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
He gets arrested, maybe 96, 97. Sometime I know I have to go. I don't know if it was summertime, but there was pot in the car, whatever it was, and there was court. So I go down to Hampton Roads or Hampton, whatever that's called.
In Virginia, yeah.
And he's in a suit, and he appears. I'm in a car following the limo after the court, after the session with the judge, and we're leaving. We go down this street, and the limo pulls over. The suit goes out the window, and then the car just keeps going.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
I should have picked. If I still had it, I could sell for a fortune on eBay.
Yeah, right. It was for you back then too. You also had to referee Larry Brown, right? Because Larry and Allen were almost opposite sides of the coin. That they were very similar in an odd way. You had that to deal with. You never knew what the night before was going to bring. I mean, every morning, and you're up at the crack of dawn, and you're putting out fires, and you're spinning plates everywhere.
That's what people don't realize, Bones, that they were very similar. They had a love for basketball. One was bebop, the other one was hip hop. One was black top, the other one was court top. I mean, they were different eras, different cultures. However, if you got down to the essence of these two separate selves, they were one self, one true maestro of basketball, one in coaching, one in playing. And they did it differently. Each of them, like Larry Brown's known as a really brilliant coach. Allen Iverson's known as a brilliant player. Why is that? Because their skill sets were allowed to blossom. Although Allen had to fight the coach to allow himself to be himself. Now, people think he was selfish. Bubba Chuck was not selfish, not at all. If you look at it, he would pass the ball. However, if you missed the shot, you might get another ball past you. If you miss another shot, screw that. He knows he can make it.
Right.
So he wanted to win. The bottom line, as I said earlier in this conversation, is winning. It's about winning. And until he got the talent around him, the Aaron McKees and the George Lynches and the Dikembe Mutombos and the Aaron McKees, where those stars circulated around the sun, Bubba Chuck, and everyone knew their position and everyone shared equally. I mean, that's really where you saw it blossom. That we didn't deserve to be in the finals against the Lakers when you think of talent, player by player. We had Allen. That's it. They had Shaq and Kobe. I mean, that's
exactly.
That's 3 compared to 1. Like, whoa.
I want to get into you a little bit because you provide this incredible light. You very inspirational. I always say this about you, that your words and your spirit's like a tonic. So if people are down, if people are upset, look at what you did when you had cancer, and how you would talk to people, all the time. You had gatherings to kind of talk through stuff, and that tonic and that it's just helping people. I got to tell you, I mean, that part about it is just so, I think, enlightening and refreshing to provide that sort of thing to people. What is it, this journey that and it's a big question, but that you've kind of learned throughout your journey now?
It's been the past 10 years, Bones, where I did go on this spiritual journey, and I went around the world to find out from the best, whether it was Tibet, Kathmandu, wherever, Nepal, Thailand, Bhutan, up into the mountains, to find out exactly when people realize that this body mind, this expression, this unique that we are, it's really what we have. Who we are is the essence, the universal essence of love. We're really all love. When you think about it, love, peace, and happiness are all the same word. And we all know that. That's where whether it's the Sixers or a great movie or a good book or a chocolate ice cream cone, it brings happiness. And at that moment when you're enjoying it, it's not me enjoying that. It's just enjoyment. That's what love is. That's what happiness is. And when we realize it, it's coming from the inside. But most people are searching for it from the outside, whether it's an object, an acquisition, an achievement, a relationship, a substance, a state of mind. And eventually it wears off. However, when you learn to suffer a little and stop and say, whoa, I might be going in the wrong direction. And that's what happens when Grace tickles us and says, stop, cut the movie of me, turn around and look inside. Just be still for I call it a 6-second sacred pause. Just rest for 6 seconds, follow your breath, and see what that frickin' voice in the head is saying. Because I didn't know there was a voice in the head, Bones, 10 years ago. And once I recognized it, and I recognized that wasn't me, that changed my entire world. Because what happens is when you change how you see how you change. And the world all of a sudden becomes celebratory, becomes a form of communication, expression. And this show of yours, this is an expression of love and happiness coming from you. It's not something you need or want. And that's really the change. And, sports does that for us. We lose ourselves when we're involved in a sport. However, we become our separate egoic self when we get all pissed off at the end of it if we lose. Yeah. Then all of a sudden we take on the identity of the team. That's my team, that's my loss. However, during the competition, during the show, there's no duality. There's no me and them. It's all, you're just, aha, yes, yeah, boom, celebrate. It's just a fabulous. So sports is a great metaphor for the spiritual path. If we see enjoyment, see ourself as that bundle of love. And that's really, when you talk about cancer, that was my body was diagnosed with cancer, not me. Not that you're listening to the voice of mine. That is that which is aware. Wasn't touched by cancer. My body. So they take care of it. Let's go. On a scale from 0 to 10, on the Yank scale, where 10 is a deep depression, I didn't shift off 0. No. Okay, bring it on. What am I going to do? And then I took it on as a celebratory journey, an adventure. I get to meet new oncologists and radiation therapists and all these people at the American Cancer Society, and people whose body have really been savaged by, renal cancer, brain cancer, throat cancer, prostate cancer. And you see these warriors going at it and really fighting the fight. It's just a magnificent journey.
Yeah, you're so inspirational. It really are. In fact, I'm thrilled that you're going to be giving a commencement at your alma mater at the University of Pittsburgh. I mean, who better to give great advice and words to graduates, to young people going about to start their journey than you?
Oh, thank you, Bones. And it's almost 50 years since I was sitting in that seat. I graduated in 77 with Tony Dorsett.
Wow.
Dorsett now, but it was Dorsett then. And it'll be a high intensity, short duration talk. The last time I gave a commencement address was in 99, Westchester University. I love the president. She's not there, Dr. Madeline Adler anymore. But in 97, she asked me, because with the Sixers, I said, sure. It's 99. You'll remember this. It's May of 99. I'm supposed to give the talk on that Saturday. It's the first day of the playoffs with the Sixers playing in Orlando. And it was my third year. There'd been a drought for 8 years. And this is the first game. But I promised to do the address. And so walking into that stadium, if I said nothing, the cheers were off the chart. And I had a bald head. Remember, we were shaving all the heads for tickets into the playoff game?
Yeah.
You got the tattoo, we got the shaved heads. That people realize that you stick by your word. I mean, that was it. So that's the last time. Here at Pitt, I mean, it's a wonderful thing. And it might be, and again, I'm a high intensity, short duration. They're not there to hear me. They're there to celebrate. So what I'm going to do is light the flame that will touch the wick, which will light up the dynamite, so that when they leave, they realize they have the world at their hands. And in addition, you're going to love this, Bones. They're giving me an honorary doctorate in rehabilitation sciences in the fields of physical, emotional, and spiritual health.
Wow.
Is that cool?
That's so apropos for someone like you who made your bones in rehabbing the body. And then you go to the mind, and then your final journey is through the spirit. It's so apropos, man. That's perfect.
Well said. Well, namaste, bro. Hey, you know what namaste means? Now, namaste is pretty cool. I mean, the Hindus and the Tibetans do it all the time. Last year when I was in Tibet, it's simple meaning. May the divine in me honor the divine in you as one. And when we look at that, that's really, we're talking about the essence of that love, who we are, that essence, not the unique entity or the expression. These are beautiful, colorful expressions. But if you get down to the being, the self in myself, that's the divine. The my, well, that's a story. That's a great story, right?
Incredible story. Last thing. And they were talking to the great Pat Croce and Allen Iverson statue unveiled. It's a big story brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. See the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. Tell people about your journey that you're going to take in the fall. It's fabulous. And this is why you're the best, because you'll watch something and then all of a sudden the light will go off and you're like, I got to do it.
Now, I believe it's God, the divine, tickling to me. Last year I went to Tibet because of something happened, and then I climbed Mount Kailash. My 70th birthday is on the Day of the Dead, November 2nd, as we talked about. So I got this sugar skull. However, we didn't know what we were going to do. A party, a family vacation, an adventure for Diane and I. And this is early January on a Sunday. And I said, I had no idea. I said, but Di, I don't want to be surprised. I want to be involved in whatever the planning is. She said, nope, no problem, because my 60th was sick. I had 300 of my closest friends in Key West. That was off the charts. However, my 40th was a surprise. So that's this Sunday in January. That same day, it's around happy hour. I pour a couple glasses of wine for Diane and I go look for a movie. And on Netflix, I see this movie called The Way. Don't know it. I see Martin Sheen stars in it from 2010. I read the little synopsis and it talks about the Camino de Santiago. I said, Di, that's the movie that Kevin, in our sanghas on Sunday, our spiritual meetings, this one fell out of Milwaukee. He went on this last summer and talked about it. He had to stop halfway because his daughter had blisters. So I said, let's watch it, right? We watch it at the 12-minute mark. You can watch The Way at the 12-minute mark. This French police captain, the character, Martin Sheen, goes over to France to recover his son's remains, because the first 2 days are a little difficult. You have to climb 5,000 feet over the Pyrenees to get into Spain, and then it's 500 miles to walk across northern Spain. His son dies in an avalanche, so he goes and retrieves him. The police captain says, on my 70th birthday, I want to walk the Camino and back. I went, Di, that's it. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing. She said, get out of here. And the more she watched it, she saw him staying in hostels and bed bugs. And she goes, I'm not. I said, no. This is perfect. That's it. 70. And so but you're going to like this, Bones. So Diane, Kelly, Michael, Jeff, and Julia are going to meet me at the 29th day. I have 5 days after that. They're going to meet me and do the last 100 kilometers with me. They'll go to Madrid, and then I'll meet them, and they'll come back from Madrid. So we'll go. And what happens in this pilgrimage, which has been going on for all of your listeners for hundreds of years, we're talking back in the Crusades, they cross all the way northern Spain, and then they go to Santiago de Compostela, where supposedly the bones of St. James are buried. And everyone to me, it's just, I'll see how many people I can touch along the way.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Captain, you're a treasure, man. We love you, buddy. You're the greatest.
Peace, brother. Love you, Bonesy.
Peace, brother. The best, the one, the only, the Captain Pat Croce. I hope you enjoyed that, because he is filled with incredible wisdom and his positive energy. Really, it's a tonic. I've always said that it's a tonic. This portion of the Anthony Gargano Show is brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Check out TrueMark, TrueMark.com/PHLY. You can stop into your local branch to learn more about the credit union difference at TrueMark Financial today. All right, time now for the daily grind with that man. The big brain, it looks like he's been up since 4:30 this morning, where he has been crunching numbers and picking out winners. First of all, how's your daughter?
She's good. She tore her ACL, but she's okay. Is it coming in okay, Anthony, the feed here? I just want to make sure the Wi-Fi is okay. I'm coming through okay.
You're a little
I'm in a hotel
glitchy,
room. Is it
You know,
coming through
whatever.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. But I got to just say this, Anthony. You could have a million guests on the air. You won't get a better one than Pat Croce. I got to tell you, like I almost forgot what a magnificent man that guy is, and like I am just amazed at that guy, and I can listen to him talk every single day for the rest of my life, and it wouldn't be enough. I'm just so impressed with him and everything he's accomplished, the way he is as a person, the way he handles himself, the way he goes about his life. I think the guy is, you know the best. That guy's the best in life. I have so much respect for him. I can't even
To be fair,
tell you.
Brett,
And I'm so glad I had him on, and your viewers got that.
Yeah. Hey, brother, you're do me a favor. Let's try to reconnect because you're frozen and now the glitchy is.
Yeah,
is
I'm
a little-
trying to give me a second.
yeah, let's try to reconnect and we'll try to get you back on because there's poor Brett. It's the beauty of the internet. I'm a big believer in this whole medium.
Yeah.
And I think this is how it's going to be. But I told you from the start, there will be some glitches at times.
Yeah.
And that's how it always is. Listen, it could be a bad cell when I was doing the radio or a bad connection. We'll get him back in a moment. But I'm happy he said what he said about Pat because and I lived it with him during that period when it was him and Iverson and Larry Brown and that whole Sixer thing, which was, well, a lot of fun. For being such a short window, it was such a great time.
Yeah, and Pat was one of those faces that I feel like not a lot of people talk about because AI was just so polarizing. But Pat was a true leader. Like you could tell, like he's just such a good person. And sometimes, like I always hear those stories about when he took over, him going out, giving out free hats, free T-shirts, just bringing that excitement to the Philadelphia 76ers. But no, everyone loved him in that locker room, and he kind of found a way to connect with everybody. He's just, and you could tell, like he's just a down to earth type
our
of dude.
kind of guy. Like, listen, like he's a Philadelphian, right?
That's
like,
right.
and you know, he was unafraid. The thing with, I think Pat was, what marks a lot of like really successful entrepreneurs is that they are unafraid.
Agreed.
They're not afraid of failure. They're not afraid of no. They're tenacious. Right?
You gotta take those risks.
You know, right. But they, you know, listen, if somebody says no, all right, well, I'll go to the next person. I'll do whatever I can to achieve. And he was, you know, I mean, listen, I mean, he turned NovaCare into what it is today. Like he started that. Like it's amazing.
Like you said, I mean, when he brought a lot of success here, and he talked about it. Winning was big. And luckily, we were able to get Allen Iverson that really helped to turn around the ship. But he understood. He's a Philadelphian. Like it's easy to sell something to Philadelphia fans, but winning is the easiest way to get butts and seats. And we enjoyed some winning times here.
Yeah, in a big way. All right, we got our man, the Big Brain, back. Big Brain, here he is.
Is this better?
Yes.
Is this any better, my friend?
It's
All right,
much
good.
better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Very, very good. But as I was saying about Pat, Anthony, that was such a great get for you, and hearing him talk. I mean, I got to tell you, I feel like watching that movie now, and seeing, you know, and just, but what an amazing man. I got to ask you a question, Anthony, because I'm trying to remember it. And remember, I told you the other day I went to Google and I just started messing around our YouTube about Wilt Chamberlain.
Yes.
I'm going to do the same thing with Pat Croce when we're off the air, because no, I'm being serious. I'm not BSing you, because honestly, this guy's accomplished so much. He's had such a fascinating life. I'm trying to remember, though, why did he leave the team? I'm trying to remember what happened exactly, and I know you obviously remember, but I don't.
Yeah, so
Can you refresh my memory?
Pat was in the spot where he was going to, there was a lot of thought that Ed Snyder was going to retire, right?
Yes,
and then Pat would run Comcast Spectacor, because Pat was the heir apparent for Ed. And then Ed decided not to retire. And, you know, listen, Ed, God bless him, had a massive ego and decided not to retire. Sure. And there was a whole thing. And then, you know, one of the things that Pat, I think, ultimately pushed him in a different direction was, I remember him saying to me, he's like, man, it's hard to do something where you have no control of the outcome. You know, and so when you're an owner, you know, a president, team president, which is what he was, who had a piece of the team, you're at the behest of your general manager, your coach, your players, and you feel like you don't have as much control over it. And I think, and you could see the one thing about Pat was he was restless up until now, and he always wanted to, do different challenges. So I think that's kind of ultimately why he decided to move on.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So we've resumed at the Masters. Let's start there.
Yes.
Anything strike your eye at the Masters? How great, by the way, just before we get into it.
Yeah.
I mean, how great Scotty Scheffler, right? DeChambeau is 7 under, right? He takes the course, and without a bat and eyelash, he goes 6 under.
Anthony, he I think is the best golfer since Tiger. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I think since Tiger Woods, he is the best golfer. It's interesting. I bet Joaquin Niemann to come in the top 20. Looks like he has a chance for one round. At least he's not out of it. But the other guy I was looking at, I swear to God, he was getting 75 to 1 odds, and he's a streaky player, was Max Homa, and I saw he's 6 under. Can I like guys who are streaky in that maybe he gets hot for a certain thing, and that was a big price to take. Max Homa is always a guy I thought was a very good golfer. But Scotty Scheffler, best golfer in the world. The price showed it, Anthony. He got it. It was 4 to 1 on Park?
Yes.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
But he is so freaking good. It was nice seeing Tiger play well.
Yeah.
And that actually, I still root for Tiger every time he's out there. And when he won in, was it 2019, was still probably one of my favorite sporting events of my lifetime. I just loved just the emotion of it. And just seeing him play and just being able to be out there for what he's overcome, it makes me feel good.
All right, so we got a big weekend, last weekend of the NBA. Of course, a full card of baseball. We got hockey winding down. I'm sure you're a busy man.
Well, I got to tell you something, Anthony. Everyone listening, Anthony told me something before the year, and he goes, I don't know if you remember telling me this, Anthony. You go, the Flyers are going to be better than people expect. You said, you spoke to Jonesy, and they're not going to be god awful because they had the lowest projected team of anyone. And you go, watch out, this team has a chance to be decent. You're like, you didn't overstate it. You're like, they're not going to be great, but they have a chance to be a fringe playoff team. Credit to you. That's exactly what they've become. And it's been it would be amazing to say it. That's a shame they got that losing streak at the end of the year. I mean, it's so hard, but that's why it's 82 games is a long season, but I'd love to see them sneak in so much. It's going to be tight. They just got to win here down the stretch. It's going to be tight. Anthony, we've talked about the Sixers. I will say this, today's line, I think maybe a little bit too high. And I think the Sixers are going to win. But I thought that line would be coming closer to 6.5. I think it's 8.5 if I'm correct. I can't look on my computer right now because I'm away. But I think that line when I on Parks was 8.5.
Yeah, on the BetParks app, yes, it's 8.5 on the BetParks app.
I mean, I think that's a little rich potentially. I mean, this is a big game for Orlando too. Do I think the Sixers will win? Absolutely. But I think the line may be a couple ticks too high. A lot will depend if Franz Wagner can play. Last I saw, he was questionable. He's Orlando's second best player after Paolo Banchero. If he plays, I like Orlando getting 8.5. I actually think that merits a bet. Everyone, if you monitor that and you see Wagner's playing, I don't think it's going to be easy for the Sixers to beat Orlando by 9. Plus, Orlando plays a lot of lower scoring games. Everyone, why do I like that? Well, less points, harder to win by margin. Makes sense. So I think Orlando may be worth a bet. Monitor the Franz Wagner situation.
All right, what do you have for us? I'm sure you have baseball and props and.
Yeah, I got a couple things for everyone. Well, I'm going to give you some NBA props I like. Anthony, it's funny. I've given this to you on your radio shows before, and I'm going to keep giving it. It keeps winning. It's been great to me. Anthony Davis, 49 and 24, over 2.5 assists. He averages 3.5. So again, and I keep saying, because I want everyone watching to understand, when there's a low number, okay, when there's a low number and it's off 1, it's extremely powerful. It's like if a guy averages 26 points and you make it 25, it's not that powerful if you're off a point. It's worth something. Don't get me wrong. When a guy averages 3.5 and you make it 2.5, that's 33% of his total. So you're really getting a big, really nice edge. Anthony Davis, the game is important for the Lakers, so I do think that they still have a chance to get in that 8 seed, or even every seed makes a difference in the West. So I think Anthony Davis gets his 3 assists. Next, Kelly Olynyk, Anthony, over 4.5 assists. The guy's averaging 5.5 assists since he went to Toronto. And what I like about this also, Anthony, he's averaging 26 minutes a game. But if you look at the last 10 games, he's up to 32 minutes a game. So he's getting a 20% bump in minutes. He averages 5.5 assists. I think 4.5 is too light. I think numbers should be 5.5. So if he lands on 5, like, on Anthony's show, Feinberg said it, I think 4.5 assists for Kelly Olynyk is 1 too light. And I will give you one last one, Anthony. What was the last one I had? I'm trying to go by memory here. When I had Zion over. Oh God, I'm spacing on the last one I had. Oh, it was Scoot Henderson, Anthony. Scoot Henderson.
Okay.
He's only gotten double-digit assists in 9 out of 51 games. Now he's gotten in his last 2, so there's a little bit of a recency bias. But I like under 9.5 assists for Scoot Henderson. He averages 5.5 now. He's been playing a lot better recently. But it's hard to get 10 assists a game, and it's going against a team in the NBA in Houston who gives up the fewest assists in the NBA, them in Orlando. Not easy to get 10 assists. A lot of ways for me to win that bet. Could be a blowout either way. He doesn't play the whole game. He can get in foul trouble, or he can just not get there because it's not easy to get 10 assists in the NBA. No one averages 10 assists in the NBA. Not Trae Young, not James Harden. I'm going to take Scoot Henderson under 9.5 assists.
I like it. All right. Any baseball?
Yeah, Anthony, it's funny. One of my pitchers I like Bryce Miller of the Seattle Mariners. Now, it's interesting, Anthony. This guy's gone under 2.5 earned runs, 14 of his 24 starts. And right off the bat, I like it. But what I really like it is, Anthony, the best stadium in baseball for pitchers is Seattle. Okay, that is the best. Safeco Field is the best pitcher's park in baseball. I don't think he gives up 3 runs. Doesn't have a tough matchup on top of it. I say Bryce Miller, Seattle Mariners, 2.5 or less runs. About even money bet. I like that.
Big Brain, you're the man, buddy. Have a great weekend. Now, people want to get a hold of you for all your weekend stuff. Brad'sBestBets.com, correct? Brad'sBestBets.com. Anthony, I had my first losing day in I don't even know how long. I got my teeth kicked in yesterday. It was not a good day for Brad's Best Bets, but I am up over 200 units, like 205 or 207 units, something like that, since inception on September 1st. Brad'sBestBets.com. You get all my futures given up. And Anthony, we're going to have a day. We go over the NFL season wins, my friend, because I'm looking forward to that. I know you do that stuff well, too. Yeah, we'll do a special. That's my favorite.
All right, buddy.
All right, brother. Great stuff. The big brain, Brad Feinberg. We love him. The Daily Grind coming up. Baldy! Yes. The Meatlocker Mock Draft 1.0 will be coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, let me tell you about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Look, when you join a credit union like TrueMark Financial, you'll see the difference. And I learned the whole difference about this. It's interesting. So you become part owner, which means profits come back to you instead of going to shareholders like a bank. You get better rates, you get lower fees, you get a better return on your savings, and you get more flexible options. All the while, you got all the digital tools and the creature comforts that we all crave. Look, you think, well, it's a credit union. Do I have all my online banking and all the stuff I need and all the digital tools? You get everything, all right? All that stuff and more. TrueMark, what I love the best, has local roots, headquartered in Fort Washington, 24 branches in the Philadelphia area. They serve our community and our people right here at home. The CEO, Kelly Body, she's one of us. She's a 4 for 4. Loves it all. Birds, she's already looking at draft. She can't wait. Who's Baldy think we're going to draft? That's what Kelly's saying. Become a member of a credit union. So many benefits that you didn't even know. Check it out. Head over to truemark.com/PHLY to learn more. You can find a branch near you. That's truemark.com/PHLY. Federally insured by the NCUA.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's also talk about our dear friends over at the Game Time app. That is right. Stressful ticket buying is no longer a thing here with our friends over at the Game Time app. It is a free functional app where you can see your seats before buying, and those hidden fees are no longer a thing with the Game Time app. We have the promo code right now for opening day, opening week. We still have 2 more days, ladies and gentlemen. Now, obviously, listen, today, we'll see. It may clear up here with weather. Tomorrow, not so much better. But on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, for that 1 o'clock first pitch. Guys, it's beautiful weather. I already checked, 72. So head on over to the Game Time app and get your seats here today for that Sunday game. And of course, like I mentioned, we have 2 days left here for the promo code for the opening day for baseball here. That promo code is First Pitch, FIRSTPITCH. You can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with that code. This offer is through April 14th. Make sure you guys download that Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Thank you to our friends over at the Game Time app.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. All right, it's 10 o'clock across the Delaware Valley. It's a Friday, so I hope your Friday is going well. So we have our man, but I got to play this for him, right? We have a new opening for our man Baldy. So before we introduce him, let's introduce his opening. Here it is.
Baldy, Baldy. Oh, let's talk some football. Ay, Baldy, Baldy. Oh, he likes meats and football.
Oh, Baldy. What do you think, brother?
That was well done, man. I like it. Let's get it out there. That's a good tease right there. It kind of covers the gamut, in my world.
Dude, the greatest is it's you everywhere. Like, it's you wearing the uniform like you did. It's you in the ocean snorkeling. It's you doing breakdowns. The only thing missing is the Baldy greenhouse.
Well, I mean, we can easily add that to it. I just got rid of the heaters and the sun lamps from the winter. Now I got to go and clean it out when I get back home. That'll take me a day because I've got like some fig trees and some citrus plants that just took off this winter, and it's time to like pot those and get them outside right now.
Nice. Yeah. Any good peppers? You gave me the greatest hot pepper that I've ever had. In fact, I made a pasta out of it with a garlic and
arrabbiata. You went straight arrabbiata on there.
Oh, it was fabulous. I forget what it was. It was wax pepper.
Well, it's a Hungarian wax. The Hungarian wax pepper is the hottest pepper. Now I've got 6 different type of peppers. The ground is still too cold to put them in. Probably sometime in early May. But these things will bloom and flower and fruit all the way into the end of November. I mean, they're a hardy plant. But yeah, the Hungarian wax pepper will make you cry for sure.
Yeah, I love it. By the way, it's great. You put a little garlic oil, a little tomato paste, and the locatelli cheese. Fabulous. Yeah. Fabulous.
You know what you're doing.
All right. This is what I was looking forward to all day. The Meatlocker Mock Draft 1.0. Mm-hmm. So this is where we're going to go. I'm going to give you the team, and then you give me your best guess. All right?
Okay.
Now we know there's trades and the whole thing. So, but you whatever how you see go, because needs. What I love about, like, when you and I are working together, like, what teams really need. You've done all your homework, watching all the tape, all the footage of these kids. Yeah. We love the draft. So I don't trust anybody's mock but yours. All right.
All right. Well, I appreciate that, cuz. Look, I in my mock, I made a couple of trades because I know there's going to be more. We kind of know who the top 30 to 40 players are. It's just what order, what need, where do they go? And then, like, for example, I was at the Jets on Tuesday, cuz. Now, they had their draft meetings, but I saw one of their senior advisors, and I asked him about a particular player. And he's like, Baldy, some of these kids, the NIL money, they seem a little entitled. And I was just like, well, I know he's a top prospect at a particular position. I'm not going to give his name or who told me.
Right.
I can see that this team is not, because they've been burned at this position before by similar type traits. I can guarantee you that they would cross this guy off their list just off of a 1-minute conversation. And that's kind of how when people start getting some information gets leaked out.
Hey, bro, can I interrupt you 1 second? Because we're getting some feedback off your speaker. Andrew.
No, it's our computer.
It's okay. All right, good. Never mind. Go ahead, brother. It's on. Surprise, it's on this end.
Depending on who's making the decisions, some of these things, past history at positions, or not getting the all-in type player, or whatever it is, like those things can it can take people off the board. It can make them rise. It can make them fall. Like even though the talent could substantiate the pick.
So let's start off. Obviously, Caleb, and Caleb, will go first to Chicago. We all know that's the lock of all locks.
What you have to remember with Caleb, though, is one, Ryan Poles is making the decision in Chicago. He made the decision to trade Justin Fields. But he comes from Kansas City, cuz he was there when Mahomes was there. He's been there with Andy and understands how important it is to support the quarterback. And so I think they feel good, not trying to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. But, Mahomes came to a great situation. He came with Andy. Alex Smith was the starter. He didn't have to play right away. He was the 10th pick in the draft. Like he wasn't, Trubisky was taken in front of him, all these guys, and so I felt like it was almost a perfect scenario for Mahomes to kind of get this Hall of Fame career launched in Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah. When you look at the quarterbacks, how do you look at the difference between Caleb and then, all the other ones? Like, because it's funny when I look at these quarterbacks, like I love Jaden Daniels, right? We've talked about Drake May, but Caleb seems to be the safest floor. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think there's a lot of people, and you'll see in the next 2 weeks, you'll see teams will have Jaden Daniels in front of them. Because, Jaden Daniels, Arizona State, kind of humble. They had a situation there. Like he leaves. He wasn't a runner at Arizona State. He's kind of a pocket guy. And, Brian Kelly gets him at LSU. Now they've got these receivers, Malik Neighbors, whatever. But, Brian Kelly kind of unlocked his running ability. And so now you see him running at elite levels, of dual threat quarterbacks. I'm concerned about his narrow frame. I'm concerned about him trying to do too much in the run game, trying to leave too early at times. Because those guys, look, Lamar has done that.
Yeah.
He's transitioning, but Lamar is built. Like he's got the neck of a middle linebacker. Like he's a thick guy. He's not this. And so I worry about Jaden's frame running, but I think he's certainly the number 2 prospect in this whole process, and an elite prospect right now.
I love him. I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm enamored by his arm. I think he's got all the tools. I agree with his slight frame, and there's other stuff that I think he can work through. So that's kind of why I like. So you have Washington taking Jaden Daniels?
Well, it's interesting. Cliff Kingsbury is the offensive coordinator there, right? So, he's coached a lot of elite quarterbacks, obviously, going back to Johnny Manziel in college, elite prospect in college, Mahomes, whatnot. But, he originally was going to the Raiders, and, when he saw what Washington was all about, he was like, wait a second. If Caleb goes 1 and Jaden goes to Washington, that's who I want to coach.
Yeah.
So I think that heavily influenced Cliff. A chance to work with a guy like Jaden Daniels and be able to use, he's always going to spread you out to run it. They've upgraded the offensive line center, certain things. Like, I feel like that's a good spot with Jaden and Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff's worked with a lot of great quarterbacks, including Caleb this year and, Mahomes, whatnot. So I feel like it's a good spot for Jaden to kind of start his career.
Yeah, I think Washington is going to be good. Not right away, but I think they're on the path to being good. I think down the line, they're going to build something. I think they finally have it cleaned, and I could see them. How about New England? Do you think New England goes Drake May?
I think Drake May goes third, but I don't think it's going to be to New England. That's where I have my first trade. I think Minnesota. There's a reason why they went and traded, and they got that 23rd pick. It's going to take their 11th pick, their 23rd pick, and maybe some more to go from 11 to 3. And New England, who just has a lot of holes and a lot of needs, and they got their stopgap quarterback back in the fold. Like, I feel like this is where Minnesota makes the move to get Drake May. There's a natural connection.
Yeah, I like that.
Josh McCown coached Drake May in high school in Charlotte. Josh McCown went to work every day when Sam Darnold was a rookie with the New York Jets. He was on that roster. So he knows Sam Darnold. He knows Drake. Like, that quarterback room will have a lot of familiarity as they kind of begin this process. And I think Drake, well, I'm not in love with him. I do think he's got what it takes to become an NFL quarterback from his frame, his size, his arm. I'm not enamored by his overall accuracy, but I think a lot of that is just footwork and mechanics and things like that. And I think Kevin O'Connell understands, like, look, everybody comes out of Sean McVay's system right now. I mean, every coach in this league has got some connection, it seems, to Sean McVay. They just saw Matt Stafford, win a Super Bowl, and you have to do it with, a big, strong pocket quarterback. And that's what Stafford has been. That's what they won a Super Bowl with, got back to the playoffs with. I think O'Connell understands that. And I think losing Kirk Cousins, getting Sam to see what he has, what he is, after spending a year in San Francisco, it would make sense.
How about 4 with Arizona? Is there a trade here, or do we see our first receiver go?
Well, Arizona already has another number 1 pick. They have the 27th pick. They have 6 of the top 90 picks. You could see them trading back, but how many picks can you actually acquire? At some point, you got to go, I need an elite receiver.
Yes.
You lose Hollywood Brown, you lose Rondale Moore. Like, let's just go get Marvin Harrison, and let's start helping out, Kyle Murray here. So Kyler, gets his number 1 target. He didn't have one last year. The tight end, Trey McBride, was his number 1 target when he came back, which is fine. Trey McBride's a good player, ascending player. I thought the offensive line, Paris Johnson was a good safe pick last year. They're looking for solid building blocks in Arizona, and I think Marvin Harrison. I think if they don't take Marvin Harrison, if they trade down, not that Monty Ossenfort, the general manager, is listening to the fans, but I think the fans want to see Marvin Harrison. I think they can see, like, maybe, this can be their next Larry Fitzgerald type. Just his size, the way he catches the ball, his productivity. I could see Larry Fitzgerald was the 3rd pick in the draft by Arizona. This is the 4th pick. I can see that sort of connection to Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. So then you have the Chargers, and the Chargers are interesting because you can go O-line, which they need some help, or you can go receiver too, because you still have 2 great receivers sitting there.
And I think that's what they do. I mean, look, and I think they go Malik Neighbors here.
Yeah.
I think he is, he's a guy that they can move around. They can play him in the slot, play him outside. You lose Keenan Allen, you lose Michael Williams. And while an offensive tackle, Joe Alt, makes a lot of sense right here, and I just remember talking to guys at Notre Dame, Michigan wanted Joe Alt in the worst way, and Harbaugh lost him to Notre Dame. And I can see Harbaugh going, I'm getting Joe Alt on this team after starting 3 years at Notre Dame. And it makes sense, but at the same time, Justin Herbert needs some help.
Yes.
You're going to build the offense around Justin Herbert, and while you want to run the ball, you want a strong offensive line, and they could do that, especially Joe. He could play opposite Rashawn Slater. It would make sense. I feel like they've got to help out Justin Herbert with an elite prospect, and I think that's what Malik Neighbors is.
Yeah, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, older guys. At this point, I'm with you. And then we go to the Giants. The G-men on the clock. They need all kinds of help. What do you think?
Well, I think look, Joe Shane and Brian Dable. They come from New England where they got a hold of Josh Allen. And, they built a regime there. They've just won 4 straight AFC East titles. And I feel like they have seen enough of Daniel Jones over 2 years. They saw a good year of Daniel Jones. They saw another injured year of Daniel Jones. I feel like this is where they kind of reset and they go, okay, let's go get J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to start right away. We signed Drew Lock. We'll see if Daniel Jones is ready. We don't think J.J. McCarthy needs to start right away, but let's just start building. Yes, they could go receiver here. They could go offensive line here. There's no doubt that there's positions of need. They signed 2 linemen in free agency. John Runyon goes up there to play guard, probably next to Andrew Thomas. They could easily take another tackle here just to cover themselves, but they signed Jermaine Luminar. I think he'll compete, with what they have at tackle. I think this is where they reset. Yeah, Saquon's not the face of the organization anymore. I don't think Daniel Jones is. I think we've seen enough of him. Let's go get J.J. McCarthy here. He's sitting there. Let's take him. Let's start developing.
Do you believe in him? I mean, God, the meteoric rise of J.J. McCarthy. And listen, I watched him all year, and the best offensive line, run game. I've saw him throw the ball twice in the second half during times, and obviously he was very good as that game manager during their playoff run. But man, he gets a ton of love out there.
Not just a ton of love. You don't see anybody taking any shots at him. I can see everybody taking shots at Drake and Jaden and Caleb in certain ways. I don't see anybody ripping him down, tearing him down, and going through the normal process and the gauntlet that every quarterback has to go through. But look, his coach comes out and says he's the best quarterback in this draft. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He happened to go to Michigan, which has this particular system that's built around the running game, not turning the ball over, playing defense, all those things, and it worked. I mean, he's 27-1 as a starter, so it worked. But I think you have to strip it down so much just to find what NFL throws are truly there. Ohio State, there's a couple at Washington, but I think that's what it's going to go off of. And they're going to go off the character and the kid and what he was in high school, how he's put on weight since the combine. He's embraced, throwing the ball at the combine. He wants to compete. He likes a challenge. I think those things have pushed him up.
So now you got Tennessee on the board at 7. Now,
when you look, Will Levis is the quarterback. You build around Will.
Right.
They went out and got themselves, a $50 million wide receiver. They drafted Peter Skoronski last year, who's a good player. This is where Joe Alt goes. Joe Alt, you literally, take Joe here. You play Skoronski at guard, or and make a powerful left side, and put Joe Alt at left tackle, and just start rebuilding the process in Tennessee. They got Tony Pollard. They've got some good running backs right now. Let's give Will Levis all the help we can get and start rebuilding an offensive line, which was one time, 3-4 years ago, a strength in this organization.
So now you got at 8, you got Rome Odunze still there, Atlanta. It seems like a perfect match that now you can have terrific skill people. Do you go – because Rome at 8 is that's great value. You already got a running back, a tight end, and another receiver. I mean, that offense would be potent.
It could be. Drake London's there. Kyle Pitts is there. Rome makes sense. I also think they need a pass rusher in the worst way. And so Raheem Morris, comes from that side of the ball where, defense basically closed out a game with Aaron Donald. Leonard Floyd won a Super Bowl a couple years ago, got back to the playoffs with some good young rookies. I think this is honestly where the first defensive player comes off the board.
Dallas Turner?
I'm going to go Jared Verse here.
Okay.
He's more of a pure defensive end than Dallas is, although I think Dallas is a better pass rusher at this point. But I think this is where Jared Verse goes. I think Atlanta
Florida
starts.
State, yeah.
Yeah, look, they have, they have some really good defensive tackles there. They have, you could go corner here, you could go Rome for sure, but I feel like this is where the first defensive player goes.
It's interesting because the thing about Turner, I love Turner's. He's ferocious. Like I love his ferocity off the edge. But you're right. Like when you look at Verse, he's not just a specialist. Like he's a guy that you could play 3 downs and you can.
He's a 4-3 defensive end, which is what Atlanta is defensively right now.
Yeah, he's interesting. He's an interesting guy. All right, 9. You got the Bears again. So how do you go now with Chicago?
I think they have one missing component to building a real good defense. We saw it really develop last year. Eberflus did a good job when he took over. Everything, the corners are really good. They re-signed Jalen Johnson. They went out, and got Kevin Byard to go with Jaquan Brisker. They got Kyler Gordon in the slot. Tyreek Stevenson looks like a good pick at corner. It looks like they needed an end opposite of Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat was you gotten for a second-round pick. There's nobody in this draft like Montez Sweat. Nobody. Nobody 6'6", 270 that can run like Montez Sweat, plays as hard as he does. So this is where Dallas Turner goes. You could easily make the case for Rome right here and just go, okay, just give Caleb just that much more. Now, he's got DJ, he's got Keenan Allen, he's got 2 tight ends, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett. He's got 3 running backs. You could go offensive line here and just give them the best left tackle. But Braxton Jones has played pretty good out there at left tackle. I think they complete the defense right here with Dallas Turner. And so that's, Chicago's known for defense. The Monsters of the Midway. The head coach is a defensive guy built around a front 4. I think this is where they complete the defense with Dallas Turner right now.
Yeah, I it's funny because I had Rome going because it's more the obvious pick. But you're right. Like if you put Turner, wow, that's scary, man. Wow, Turner, Sweat,
CJ Edwards. You look at what they did at linebacker last year. They both played really well. They drafted 2 defensive tackles last year. Just finish the defense. Finish it. When you go up against Green Bay and that young, talented offense and you go against Detroit, keep the score down. Keep it down to 20. Let Caleb go to work with what he's got. There's going to be receivers in the second round if you want another receiver or an offensive lineman. Those guys can be had. They don't have a second-round pick, but the receiver is going to go deep into this draft. So I feel like I just feel like this is where Ryan Poles kind of finishes the defense right here.
Yeah. And listen, that defense was terrific down the stretch. All right, last one. This is our top 10. We'll finish it next week. It's the Jets and a team that you're very close with. The Jets sitting at 10. Now, they're an interesting group. And you talked about it. They could be a story next year.
Well, it's all based on health. If Aaron Rodgers comes back and comes anywhere near his capabilities and returns, they're going to be a good football team. Defensively, they might be the best defensive football. And that's not hyperbole. They've got 6 former number 1 draft picks on the defensive line. They picked up Hassan. He's an upgrade over Bryce Huff. They picked up Javon Kinlaw. He's a rotational guy. Solomon Thomas, a rotational guy. To go with Quinnen Williams. And Jermaine Johnson, whose arc is just getting better and bigger and bigger. To go with Will McDonald coming back in his second year. You look at linebackers with Quincy Williams and C.J. Mosley. You look at the corner situation with Sauce and DJ. This defense is elite. Now, at 10, and I just had this debate on Tuesday when I was up there with the Jets. We were doing this similar type mock draft like we're doing right now. And we get to 10. And, on our particular mock, Rome is there. Brock Bowers is there. Olu Fashanu is there. All these guys are there. And what do? Do you take the tackle and maybe redshirt him or wait for either Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses to go down and you plug and play? You build for the future. Do you go tight end? The tight end room is pretty deep there as it is right now. They've got 4 guys on the roster. All, I think, are good players. So while none of them are what Brock Bowers appears to be, unless you have a clear-cut plan for Brock, like they do in Kansas City, like they do with Mark Andrews in Baltimore, unless you have a clear-cut, are you going to get the most value out of it? So this is where I feel like Rome Odunze goes. And you just go, okay, Aaron, here we go. You got Garrett Wilson. You've got Mike Williams. You've got Breece Hall. We've just given you 3 new starters in the offensive line. By the way, we've got 2 former 4th-round picks, back it up here at offensive tackle that we're going to continue to develop. You put Rome in there. Because to me, the comp for Rome Odunze was a bigger, stronger, faster Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
So you Rome, Garrett, Mike Williams, and tight ends and Breece, and that defense, I'm all in on the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, with adding that kind of playmaker, wow. I mean, their offense could be scary. And I forgot Mike Williams went there, man. That's now all of a sudden you look at that receiver room, and you're right. They got all kinds of tight ends already, so you don't need Bowers. It all goes down to, it's amazing, man. It all goes down to one man and the health of Aaron Rodgers. Wow.
The health of Aaron Rodgers, and look, they've got 2 33-year-old offensive tackles. Morgan Moses, who's played in New York, knows that building, knows the system, knows the coach. Played well in Baltimore for 2 years. And Tyron Smith. And we have seen when Tyron Smith's on the field, he's still an elite player. He just has to stay on the field. Last year, I think they got 13 or 14 starts out of him. So that's what they need to get from Tyron.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. All right, there's our top 10. We will continue the mock into next week. To recap, Bears go Caleb Williams, Washington, Jaden Daniels, New England in a trade. Baldy has a trade with Minnesota, and Minnesota takes Drake May. I can totally see that. That makes sense. Arizona, Marvin Harrison Jr. Chargers go Neighbors. Giants, J.J. McCarthy. They get the quarterback to finally end the Daniel Jones disaster. The Titans get the big tackle, Alt. The Falcons get an end in Verse from Florida State as a player. The Bears go Dallas Turner, who's a ferocious defensive end pass rusher. And the Jets get Rome. That's the top 10 as we see it. Still a lot of talent on the board. We'll see what happens with the Eagles, who are at 22. And if they move up, we'll continue that conversation next week as we continue the mock. Baldy, what's on tap for the weekend?
Well, I'm here in South Florida. I mean, I'm definitely going to get in the water. It's calm today, and it's got good visibility. But it's just all studying all the time. I'm into the 4th and 5th round prospects, at center, at wide receiver right now, just trying to find value so that when some of these names get called, I'll be kind of covering the draft in LA for the NFL Network. When some of these names get called, I don't want to be surprised. I want to know who they are. If they want to come to me and talk about them, I want to be able to deliver, pretty cogent analysis. So I'm just getting myself familiar with some guys at all these positions right now.
Yeah, you nobody does their homework like you. And it's nice. You take a break and you go into the water. That's exactly. Baldy's life.
That's my study break. My study break is just to go, drop down 40 feet and see, if there's any nurse sharks or turtles or, manta rays like flying around down there. Let's want to see what we got.
There he is. Can we play it one more time? Baldy, let's see it.
Baldy. Oh, let's talk some football. Baldy. Oh, he likes meats and football. Oh, Baldy.
My brother.
All right, man.
You're
keep that playing because I love it.
Yes.
Have a great weekend, man.
You too, brother. Talk to you soon.
See you next week.
The great Baldy and our first 10 picks of our own Meatlocker Draft 1.0, which I love doing that. Tell us about breakfast.
Breakfast time. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. That means it is Bagels & Co. time. Thank you to our friends over at Bagels & Co. for being one of our sponsors here today. Brooklyn-style bagels, but ladies and gentlemen, they are made with that Philly love. And as you guys know, with the inflationary day that we're living in, food is skyrocketing in prices, and that's why Bagels Co. have us hooked up with not only a delicious breakfast, but a cost-efficient one as well. These bagels are humongous, guys. You got to check them out. But not only that, every day they have a large variety of bagels. Select one from 15 to 20 different bagel types every single day. And with that, you need a large cream cheese and schmear selection, 30 different types to select from with that as well. And like I said, affordable prices, not only with their bagels, but with their cup of joe. No more $7 cup of coffee, $3 cup of coffee, ladies and gentlemen. That is the best part about it. So what are you waiting for? Come meet me for breakfast here today. Find your local Bagels & Co. All you have to do is go to the website, thebagelsandco.com/store locator to find your local Bagels & Co. here today. And thank you to our friends over at Bagels & Co. Cuz.
All right, JP. Coming up in just a moment, we'll talk to Derek Bodner. Man, I love him. He does such an amazing job on the Sixers show with Devon and Kyle. And together, I love our Sixer coverage here at All PHLY. So we'll talk to Derek about the weekend, which is the last weekend of the NBA and what has to happen. Sixers Orlando tonight. Let me tell you about Olipop, the world's first functional soda. Yes, the world's first functional soda, Olipop. Oh, man. I see it all the time with VG because VG loves his Olipop. He says, I don't have to have my multigrain bread, which is like 6 slices to get the fiber. Well, guess what? He just drinks a can of Olipop. 9 grams of fiber per can, only 2 to 5 grams of sugar. Olipop has the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support gut health. The beauty is taste. Yes, taste. It tastes great. That's what Olipop gives you, the great taste. And I can tell you by my kids, Massimo and Anthony love their Olipop. Oh, yeah. In fact, Anthony likes the classic root beer. I put a little scoop of vanilla bean ice cream in there. Massimo likes the strawberry vanilla, the classic cola. It's really good. And now you can get it 30,000 retailers nationwide, including all Wawa stores. That's right. Olipop is in Wawa. Hey, by the way, use the code PHLY, 20% off your next Olipop order. All right, Olipop sold online, drinkolipop.com and Amazon. Available 30,000 retailers nationwide, including Wawa, Target, Wegmans, ShopRite, GoPuff. Olipop. The 10 o'clock, our 10 o'clock hour brought to you by our good friends at Bet Parks app. Of course, the great Parks Casino in Ben Salem and the Bet Parks app. All right, let's get Derek in here. And I'm curious. I want to talk some Sixer basketball with our man Derek Bodner, who's coming in. Okay. Well, we'll talk to D in just a moment. Thanks. welcome back. Hello, welcome back. It's the Anthony Gargano Show, and this man right here, dude, I love your work. Derek Bodner, all PHLY. You do such great work covering the Sixers. Been a longtime fan of what you've done in covering Sixers in the NBA, and you've continued here. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole squad that we built here, from Devon and Kyle, Rich, everyone that we have talking about or covering the Sixers. I think is fantastic, and there's no other team that I would want to work with for sure.
So you're going to go to the Allen Iverson unveiling today of that statue at 1:00
in rain-soaked Camden. Yep. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to work because all the statues are obviously outside and that walk. Been to a couple of them now, but yeah, it's look, that's just an incredible era, a incredible collection of people they will have there. I'm very excited for that.
How did AI impact you and as an NBA journalist and whole thing?
Sure. Well, at that point, I had no thought of ever getting into journalism. Never thought it would be a possibility. Never really had a career path mapped out for that. I was just a huge fan. And it took what was, obviously I loved basketball before then, played basketball growing up. But at that point, it just became almost like an obsession. And it really was. I think about this all the time because on the one hand, it would be fascinating to see Allen Iverson play in today's NBA because there's so much more shooting. And I think that would help someone like him drive to the paint. But it's also like he's one of the last real, relatable athletes that I think we've seen come through the NBA. Everyone now feels so polished, they're so talked up in terms of PR. You saw the good, the bad, and the ugly with Allen Iverson every day. He wore everything on his sleeve, and it was just such a magnetic personality to connect with.
It's fascinating. Dude, it's so fascinating because part of it is really our culture, right? Because there were a lot of characters.
Yeah.
Like he was Philadelphia, one of the things that I always wanted to do, and I never did it, was be a city side columnist.
Okay.
Because of the era of the characters.
Yeah.
I'm enamored by the 70s and 80s. And I wrote a story or a TV series about Philadelphia in the 70s and 80s because they were and into the 90s because of all the characters that were there. And Allen was basically the last character. Because part of it is we always talk about, being kind of real. And he always said, keeping it real. And he was like you said, his greatness, his warts, everything involved. He was who he was. It was unfiltered.
Yeah. No, and I mean, look, certainly don't want to complain. Joel Embiid's a great person to cover, a great team to be around, but it's just so different. Like everyone across the league is so different. I have no idea how a PR staff would react to Allen Iverson today. But from a fan perspective, like I said, the way he just showed raw emotion on a nightly basis on the court, even off the court at times, it would have been fun to cover, and it was certainly a blast to watch growing up.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Joel. Joel is one of the smartest athletes that I've ever encountered. He's a really, really sharp. And you cover him, very, very smart, very intelligent. He's really media savvy, which is interesting because he'll integrate social media, as you know. He's a fascinating guy because he's really, really smart and understands what's going on around him.
He really is. And he comes at it from a sort of team building perspective too. He wants to know all about the salary cap and about how to build a team. And I think that's helped Daryl Morey because I think he's had a little bit more patience than maybe some other superstars who look at what's going on with Milwaukee right now. The way Giannis has pushed maybe some of his leverage to get the coach that he wants and the players that he wants. It's not really working out. Joe has never really exerted that. And he's given his general managers a little bit of leeway, I think in part because he has taken the time to understand what is best for the team long term, whereas some other superstars maybe not. But yeah, he's very smart from his social media usage to the way he was. Just look at the way he was able to pick up basketball at 15 and become the best scorer in the world over the course of a little more than a decade. It is wild.
So I would say that art movement is art. Right. There's the art of movement, and Joel is an art forger, where I've never seen anyone that can turn the Picasso of movement, and whether it's a Kobe, whether it Dream Elijah and he replicates it.
A little bit of Dirk, one foot step back.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's like he's got this way that, and I call him the great art forger.
Yeah. No, and it's sort of a shame because I think a lot of people will look at it and, well, he's not in tip-top shape, so does he work, yada, yada, yada. No, the way to develop those skills is to put in an obscene amount of hours of work. And he has a combination of athleticism and touch and fluidity and work to get to that point where he can master pretty much anything he has put his mind to in terms of an offensive skill set. You brought up all those different moves. He's got shades of Akeem, shades of Kobe, shades of Dirk, and that has become one of the best scorers in the history of the sport. And he came into the league like he was a top-ranked prospect because of his defensive potential to develop the way he has. Hasn't translated yet into playoff success, and a lot of people will bring that up. That is why the next coming weeks are so exciting. You get a chance to rewrite history, chance to rewrite your narrative, and I think that is one of the great things about the sport. So take us through this weekend as the quest for the sixth
jumbled
seed.
mess.
Yes.
So nobody can decipher it like you.
Well, I'll try not to screw it up here. So if the Sixers right now are, I believe, 7th, the way to jump up to 6, and again, jumping up to 6 is really important because you avoid the play-in tournament. Basically, if you're in a 7-8 seed, you play a game against each other. If you lose that game, you play against the winner of the 9-10 seed. And if you lose that one, you're out of the playoffs. If you win that one, you're playing Boston. You want to avoid all of that. So in order to do that, you either win the 7-8 play-in game or you avoid the play-in entirely. And obviously getting 6 would help with that. The way you get to 6 is you have to, first of all, have to win your last 2 games, including a big one here tonight against Orlando. And then you need either the Pacers to win both games, the Pacers to lose both games, or Orlando to lose their final game against the Bucks. Because really the problem is, so if it's a 2-team tie with the Magic, you win that because you've already won both games in that matchup. You win the head-to-head. If it's a 3-team tie with the Pacers, the Magic, and the Sixers, then the division winner, which Orlando is, gets that first tiebreaker. You go to a tiebreaker with the Pacers. You lose that tiebreaker because you've lost 2 out of 3 games against the Pacers. So you have to avoid that 3-team tie. The way you do that, like I said, first of all, win your first 2 games. It's a prerequisite for all of it. And then you have to either have the Pacers win both games or lose both games.
Now they got Cleveland
and Atlanta.
Yep.
Because that would avoid the Pacers tying with the Sixers and the Magic, or to have the Magic lose their final game against the Bucks. And the Bucks are going to be interesting because right now they are, I think, a game up on the Knicks. So if they win their next game, I think that's tonight against Oklahoma City. If they win that next game, then the final game won't matter. They probably won't play anyone. Dame will rest. They'll give Orlando a real easy win. So you got to hope that the Bucks lose tonight, so they have something to play for in the finale.
Wow. All right. So seeing how this thing is developed, watching how Joel looked 36 minutes last game, like that was important, the number of minutes. Seeing how this team is really interesting because Maxey as the co-star, not Simmons or Harden, both who had warts, particularly when it comes to energy, and then all these role players. How are you feeling about a run?
I think this team probably is built around Joel Embiid better, just in terms of matching skill sets than anyone, than any team that he has had. It might not be the highest talent level. You can go back to 2019 when he had Jimmy and JJ and Tobias.
But he wasn't himself.
He was not as
now.
good back then.
Right.
Absolutely. And he struggled a lot offensively in that playoff series. But, and there's other teams like Harden you mix in, they might have higher talent levels, but I think Maxey is the best co-star he has had in terms of fitting his skill sets, being able to play off of his strengths. I'm really interested to see what Tyrese Maxey does as the undisputed top perimeter scorer on this team, because I think he has abilities that look, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid were a real tough fit. James Harden at that stage of his career, he might give you a game or 2, but he did not have the burst to carry you through a 7-game series. We saw that towards the end. Maxey, with the way he has deep range, the way he's able to get into the paint, he just has so many different ways to attack you, and it's so tough to game plan against that pick and roll between those two, or that dribble handoff, whatever they run. I'm really interested. I'm really, really interested. The question is going to come down to, do they have enough perimeter defense? I worry about that a little bit. A lot of the guards they have aren't necessarily strong defenders, but I think they have, if their shots are going in, and that's always a huge key, and that can swing a playoff series. And even the best shooting teams can struggle over 7 games. Even the worst shooting teams, Miami the other year, going on that run was largely driven by their 3-point shooting. They were a bad 3-point shooting team. So there's a lot of variance, but I think they are set up where they have a real good team around Joel Embiid. The question is, can Joel Embiid last the entire playoffs? And also, their path is tough because they fall into the 6-7. They might have to end up beating, the Bucks in the first round, the Knicks in the second round, and then the Celtics in the conference finals. That's a real tough path. So I think they're set up pretty well. I think Joel Embiid looks pretty fresh. He's probably about as good as you could have expected coming back from that layoff, but a lot of stuff still has to go right.
Yeah, I'm excited. No, you laid it out perfectly. You know what's interesting? One last thing. Kelly Oubre is an interesting role player because I was talking about this with Legs. He gives you what Tobias gives you in the sense that he's fearless, right? Like the one thing about Tobias is a more polished game, but Oubre's fearless, right? And Oubre will shoot the ball, and Oubre will try to score, and that's an interesting component that he brings.
Yeah, I think Oubre is fascinating because he is crucially important. And throughout his career, he's been very flawed. Like his shooting, low 30s shooting from three. He struggled to consistently make shots. A lot of that has come down to his shot selection. Last year, I remember with open catch and shoot threes, he was shooting like 37% from three. When he took a contested three, it dropped like 25%. So it's a lot getting him to shoot the good shots and pass away the bad shots. He's had more turnovers and assists for his career, but over the last month, 2 months, he's played much better basketball. He's been a much more willing distributor, and I think the shot selection has been there. So far this year, while he's playing alongside Joel Embiid, his three-point percentage is up around the 38% mark. And if that combined with the passing continues, and I think there's reason that you would say, yeah, he will shoot better with Joe because Joe attracts so much attention. If that continues, he can become a real key piece for them.
Yeah, I'm fascinated. All right, next week we're going to get crazy here. All right, Derek, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be watching you, reading you of course, Allen Iverson statue unveiling, and then the game tonight. So great stuff, brother. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Here he is, Derek Bodner. And I love it. He's fantastic.
He's the best.
Derek does such a great job. I know our Sixer coverage best in the city. I'll tell you right now. It's fantastic. All of our sports, we're very proud of what we do here at allphly.com. Love it. All right, coming up, and we're going to go overtime today. So just FYI, the beauty of this format is that we can just go as long as we want. So we got Cousins Clubhouse that we have to do. And I got the Friday 5 that I want to run by everybody. We want to get our comments. We want to get all of our stuff. And we have TV Todd, who's going to be joining us. And I love TV Todd. TV Todd's going to give us all kinds of stuff to watch this weekend. So we're going to want to do that. Let's start off with our Friday 5, boys.
Let's do it.
All right.
Love it.
Friday 5. It's the 20-year anniversary since the opening of Citizens Bank Park. I like to call it Xanadu. 20 years of CBP. It's our back in the day moment, and that is brought to you by Rite Aid. Find all your local goods. If your allergies like me, you can make sure you go to your neighborhood Rite Aid store.
I was just there yesterday.
Were you?
Yeah, my passion one. I saw Marge and Ruth.
Yeah, I just tell them hello. Tell them I said hello. I know that road Rite Aid very well. When I was living on off of South Street, I used to be there all the time. All right, give me the best and worst of CBP. So your best moment.
All right, my best. I'm going to go back to 2022. We got to go NLCS, the 4-3 victory over the San Diego Padres. You had a homer by Reese, homer by Bryce. Punch our ticket into the World Series.
Well, the homer. It was capital THE with Bryce. That moment was one of the greatest moments ever. Oh my God, I loved it.
Euphoria.
What do you got? Best moment CBP?
I go back a little further to the 2008 run, the meltdown, CC Sabathia.
Yeah.
With Brett Myers.
There's been so many incredible moments.
The Grand Slam is also that game.
Yes.
But man, that Sabathia, the crowd was
Victorino,
just going
Brett
nuts.
Myers at the plate.
Throw a strike.
Yeah,
it was
the
amazing.
crowd was freaking. Wasn't that like a 4 o'clock start?
Yeah, it was an afternoon game for sure. Yeah.
That was one of the best. All right, your worst moment. Give me the worst moment that took place, because I know I have mine.
I'm going to go back to 2010, guys. Yeah, that NLCS with the San Francisco Giants. Juan Uribe hits that home run off of Ryan Madsen in the top of the 8th inning. And, of course, we lose 3-2. That one was big because, obviously, that run for the Giants started kind of their little dynasty, 3 championships in 4 seasons. So, yeah. That's definitely my worst moment for sure.
Yeah. That series, though, they had the game 1 in extras. Raul Banez dropped the ball.
Oh.
That was one of the you remember that. Me and like Reese used to my boy, like I would go, like, do Raul, because we were doing it. What's your worst?
you know, it's not like the worst, but what it signified, the Harry Memorial they had at the ballpark, and it's just everything is signified in the loss we shared. It's just they played that Simon and Garfunkel Bridge Under Troubled Water, and it was so sad.
Yeah. It was very sad. 2011, 1-0, Game 5. Chris Carpenter on the mound. They had ripped him up. They torched him in Game 1. He's throwing a gem. Halliday's almost perfect. Gives up the 1 run in the first inning, and then it's just bat squeezing time the rest of the game. And Raul hit a shot to, if you remember, to right center. The wind knocked it down.
I do not remember.
Yeah.
The gummies have an effect on the memory.
All right, question number 2 of the Friday 5 is the AI statue is being unveiled today in Camden at the Sixers facility. Who's the next Philadelphia athlete that is in bronzed?
I really don't want to go with the popular answer here because I know everyone's going to go here. It's going to be an Eagle player, so I'll go with something a little out of the ordinary. Let's go to Chester. Let's go to the Union. Alejandro Bedoya signed a 1-year deal here. He's at the last ends here, but when you think of Union soccer the past couple of years, it's been really fun. And Alejandro Bedoya has been the face of that. He's represented Philly in the positive light. He absolutely needs a statue. He's probably going to hang it up at the end of the season. So I'm going to go with Alejandro Bedoya.
All right. Who you got?
I wanted to say Beast, but I went Hinkie.
What?
I think once they win it and the process brings that trophy here, we go Hinkie.
I love Sam.
Sam.
You know, if it's up, even if it's not by the Sixers organization, there's enough crazy. Someone will create a Hinkie statue somewhere around town.
Yeah, he became
the cool hero.
How about Hinkie died for your sins?
Well, now that VG didn't say, I mean, let's all say the obvious. Kelsey needs a statue as soon as possible.
Yeah. You were saving that in case VG. You didn't want to.
I thought VG was going to go Kelsey. To be honest,
that's the obvious. Yeah. All right. See your hat. Violet's Greg is wearing the new Phillies
better in person
City Connect hat.
Beautiful hat.
Which is a great hat.
This is not an endorsement of the uniform at all. It's just an endorsement of the hat.
But the hat rules. The hat's awesome. The bell with the sign, like it's a great hat. So give me the new gear that you're obsessed with that you want to get or got.
So right now that like kind of the hype has died down, I was able to get the Kelly Green jersey yet. I want to get that Kelly Green. Obviously, BG's still here, so I need that Brandon Graham.
Take that one right there. It's a throwback one.
So I want that Kelly Green's jersey. That's my hot topic right now.
What you got?
Have you seen they're like a red, almost track zip up the Phillies have been wearing with the white stripes?
First of all, you know how I feel about sweatsuits. I love sweatsuits.
Dude, those are hot, man. I got to get me one of those.
Yeah, that's I
saw someone around the ballpark with it last night walking around, and they look great.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we'll have to get you the new velour suits for the Eagles they have on FOCO. Bill Matz has been raving about that.
Yes.
Yes.
And my man, Jimmy Gorecki.
He was in the chat room today. He said hello.
Well, Jimmy, was he?
Yeah.
Jimmy's my man. Skateboard legend.
Mm-hmm.
He did. Jimmy's the greatest.
Absolutely awesome.
He's in LA. And in fact, Jimmy did stuff with the Eagles Kelly Green, his new Vans, like which are really
JSP.
Cool.
Yeah,
JSP, baby.
Jimmy sweatpants, JSP.
Love all their gear.
Right?
Standard issue, yep.
Yeah. Fantastic,
Beautiful
Andrew. All right. Give me now we talked about Allen today a lot, Iverson. Give me 3 players, any sport locally, that played with his sort of energy.
So the obvious one for the Sixers is Tyrese Maxey. I mean, you kind of watch him.
Yeah.
And you hear him in the broadcast. Sometimes they bring it up to the style that he plays with. So I'm going to go with Maxey. Travis Konechny, because listen, Allen wasn't shy away from the trash talk, and we all know TK. He's not shy of that either. And then last but not least, Brandon Marsh. I just feel like in general, just picking his teammates up, bringing that energy to the diamond.
That's pretty good. By the way, 4 bombs already. Another bomb last night.
He's going to get tested.
Marsh.
He's getting tested.
Awesome right now.
Come on.
I love it. Who you got?
I'm going Flyers. Big E. Lindros was just when he was on the ice. It was insane. Nails was a good one back in the day.
Yeah, but that energy was pharmaceutical induced.
You didn't say it had to be clean energy.
Why, you don't believe in clean energy?
And everyone's famous favorite person in Philly that comes on the show, I think, other than Charlie, Bo Adamas.
Bo Adamas.
Bo
Yes.
had great energy
Bo
on the
had
field.
great. Are you kidding me? Fantastic energy, without a doubt. All right, what do we got in our last one, by the way? Give me something that you are obsessed with. It could be a TV show. We have TV Tide coming up. It could be a food. It could be a beer. You name it.
All right, so my fiance at home knows very well. She's tired of this. So I'm a big music guy, but I'm very picky. I'm like chicken fingers and french fry with my music. So you guys will find out soon enough. But I'm obsessed with reggaeton. Reggaeton is something I listen to every day. So every morning, coming to the show, I blast that reggaeton in my car just to get me hyped and get me ready. I'm walking in, I'm like, buenos dias, what's going on, everybody? Everyone knows I got that energy.
JP, John brings incredible energy to the morning. We love him. He's got a great aura about him.
It's infectious. Without him, we'd be like mopes here in the morning.
And I'm an energy guy, but I'm not a morning guy.
You're not a morning guy. What's up, cuz?
I'm like a happy person,
Yeah.
but the morning, I've never, and for some reason, I've always been in the morning. You know what? For my whole life, I was like, I love sports and to write because I could, write all night and stay up all night.
It's the best.
And then sleep all day. Like that was my, I don't know. I always like that was my body clock.
Yeah.
Who you got?
I'm obsessed with $2 same game parlays. As long as they pay like 30 to 1, if I could just throw $2 and win 60 once a month, it's all right, man.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah,
Pays for it.
Just load up on assists, 3 steals, everything, man.
$2 parlays, baby.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the way to go, man.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
value
awesome.
menu
I
of
don't know.
betting
They're
there,
brought to
guys.
you by the Bet Parks app.
Yeah, and I don't know who followed me last night, but I gave a hometown parlay.
Oh, yeah.
Phillies Flyers money line. Come
Listen,
on.
look, we got to laud him for the Flyers.
$10 paid $46 last night.
Nice. Hey, laud him for that Flyers pick,
Dude.
He said it.
You've been on some
Well,
things with the Johan Rojas, now the Flyers.
That's just
Yeah.
luck. This Flyers thing,
Yeah.
they broke them. So the power to the players.
broke Torch?
Power to the players.
Right.
And
So we're
once they
beating the Devils
realize
and the
it-
Caps now?
I think they're going to be competitive.
They are literally the Eagles of 68.
I hope they're competitive because the Flyers cap game with the last game of the season, would that mean something? Be all right.
I would be outrageous.
Throw back to Dale Hunter
That
days.
would be unbelievable.
Oh,
Are
man.
you kidding me? That would be awesome.
Speaking of Bet Parks,
TV Todd's a big Flyer man, so I'm
Awesome.
The Sixers
Can't wait.
must have been listening to Brad. Lines down to 7.5. Bet Parks must have been listening to Brad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, lines
I
down to
dropped a
7.5.
full point.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Check that out. All right, what do we got in the comments?
Comments. People were curious about JP and the Gala. They wanted to know, did he wear a tux last
Did you go tux?
night?
One
We-
t-shirt, baggy pants. You know me, guys. No,
We
I'm
got
just
a
kidding.
photo
This is
of
me
it. Look,
here.
look.
Got the suit.
Oh, look at
look.
Shaw.
Chelsea boot on.
That's
We
a
had
good
so that's
suit.
a brown. That's a brown
JP.
plaid suit, black tie.
Nice.
Yeah, I gotta clean up.
You
Listen,
clean up nice.
and if you know Renee, when she to these events, she shows out. She looked great as well. So I had to step up my game, cuz
yeah. No, Renee probably looked gorgeous.
she did. She
So
looked
you-
really nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
Looks fantastic.
Always represent.
Sam from England didn't know this. His oldest son's middle name is Iverson.
Yes, I did know that. I
Yeah,
remember him. I remember him saying that. He tried to get his wife allowed him the middle name.
And his youngest son is Joel, middle name.
Yeah. He's like an unbelievable Sixer fan, Sam, and I love the fact that Iverson, and you could just hear like Iverson is a very British sounding name. So,
Iverson.
right?
So he says he
Hello,
never
Iverson.
calls
Hello,
him by the
Iverson.
first name. He just yells like, Iverson, come downstairs.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
We had some technical difficulties with Baldy, and Randy Rhubarb said, friggin' Motel 6 complimentary Wi-Fi.
So was that you? Everybody heard that? I was hoping
you're
that.
talking about
No,
Baldy.
it
You're
was
talking
on
about
our
Brad.
end.
Oh,
no, it was Brad. It was Brad.
Yeah, because Brad
my
was-
bad.
Yeah, Brad was at
Brad's
Motel 6.
traveling.
Yeah.
The speaker issue was on our end. They wouldn't have heard it.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
With
thought.
some love for the draft content, Tim M. I live for this type of draft content. Casper, the Ghost. This is the NFL draft content we all want and need.
And we'll continue that. Like that's
I
going to
love the
happen
name
all
of the mock
next
draft,
week.
though.
We all going to do the Meat Locker.
Locker, yeah.
Yeah, we'll tweet out the first thing. In case you missed it, our Meat Locker top 10 guys. Bears go Caleb Williams. Washington goes Jaden Daniels. New England's a trade, which makes sense with the Vikings. They take Drake May, so they get their quarterback. Marvin Jr. goes to Arizona. Malik Neighbors, who I love Neighbors, man, from LSU. He's fantastic. Goes to the Chargers and Harbaugh. The Giants get a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. The Titans get the big tackle. The Falcons get a true defensive end, Florida State's verse. The Bears go Dallas Turner, who's a stud off the edge. And the Jets go Rome Odunze, who is from Washington. He's a great receiver.
The Meatlocker.
So we nerd out. I was watching some of the. I'm doing my homework too, so I'm watching some. Last night and Wednesday night, I was up late doing charting guys and watching video.
That's awesome.
I'm a loser.
Yeah, well,
so it was great. Brother, listen, great stuff, JP. We have overtime coming up.
OT
with our man, TV Todd. Todd. All right, so do me a favor. We're going to do this on the fly. Who's going where? Direct us, Andrew.
VG going to JP
So
spot.
we just keep it real, right? Like,
yeah, we're
going to do musical chairs. All right, and we don't need the transition because I know the transition gets on people's nerves. But there he is, the man right there. Well, looking good, Todd. Well, it's great to actually do this by a video. The great TV Todd. It's draft time, buddy. What do you say?
Wow. Great to see you guys. You know, I love, Anthony, you know this. I love this new platform so much. And you said it. I'm a huge Flyers fan. So I'm obviously a huge fan. JP, Matz, O'Connor, they're my guys. They're my post-game guys now.
How great is that? You got Todd watching, and you are. So how about this was interesting. VG's thought process was that after the ugly game, right, where they give up the 3 field goals, Torts is not taking the paint off their boat, right? Like Torts is actually subdued. And he believes that a subdued Torts,
broken,
that he was been broken, that translated into calm in the locker room and thus the 4-1 victory last night against the Rangers.
I can get behind that. I think, players will always say, we're still in it mathematically. We're still in it mathematically. We're still fighting to the end. But I feel like after the wheels came off on the Montreal game, I feel like the pressure was kind of off. I think these guys they look at the stats, the standings the way we do. They know that the chances of them making the playoffs was almost nil at that point. I think it creates a looser game, and I think the coaches probably feel the same way. Just go out there and let it all out there, guys. Don't leave anything,
Get some dignity.
Guess what? Who knows? And if Sunday, if the finale against Washington means something, it could be like that 2010 Sunday. Who knows? That would be unbelievable. Flyers, Caps to get into the playoffs. That'd be fun.
It'd be crazy. The whole thing about this is if we came out of that gauntlet, right? If we came out of that gauntlet and we weren't in a playoff spot, which is what I actually thought was going to happen, I don't think it would be nearly the punch in the gut that we got over the last few days. But I think the fact that we came out of the gauntlet in that spot with one of the easiest schedules left in the NHL is really why it hurts a little bit. But let's not, because you and I have talked about it, they overachieved this season. Barring the end here, we had a totally entertaining season that nobody expected.
I completely agree. Actually, I love the direction where they're going. Big picture, Jonesy and Briere. I love kind of the mindset, and I do think that they'll turn this thing around. All right, I wanted VG here because he's a TV movie guy like we are.
Love it.
I think I've emailed Todd about helping me out with a script at some point.
I'm sure you have. Yeah. Listen, Todd is our amazing producer. He does incredible work. In fact, Todd and I are working on a film project together. Nice. Full disclosure, which we love. I love your taste. We'll text each other during the week about different stuff. So tell us for date night, it's weekend. You'll be with us every Friday to give us something to watch. What do you got for us, buddy?
Well, man, we haven't talked for a long time on the air, Anthony, about shows. I mean, I have a whole list of shows I've watched in the last few months, and I'm still working on my show, Curious Case of Natalia Grace. We're shooting season 3 right now. So for those of you who have not watched season 1 and 2, you get on it now. See, I know I say it all the time.
It's fabulous. It was amazing.
It's great
Good,
stuff. It was the number one show on Netflix.
Yeah, it was, my God, it was the number 1 show on Max for the entire month of January. Just really unbelievable. But working on season 3 there. But what do I watch in my spare time when I'm not working on projects? Well, I'll tell you, you covered it over the last few days a little bit, Anthony. You talked about The Gentleman. You and I loved it. I can't recommend that series enough. Guy Ritchie, I loved Guy Ritchie's films back in the day, but I have to admit, I sort of lost interest in some of them. And I
there was a bit of redundancy in some of the films.
That's it. It started to feel all the same and very similar. And admittedly, I didn't even watch the Gentleman movie that was done, but I watched this series because I had read a lot about it. And I'm telling you, one of my favorite series, twists and turns, great characters. I have a great respect for everybody that put that series together. So I know it's been out for a few weeks now, but highly recommend it. Another series I watched, and then I'll get to the current one, but the other series I watched in the last couple of weeks while you've been off the air is a series I just finished called 3 Body Problem. It's a Netflix series. Netflix, by the way, is killing it in the last few weeks. And this series, 3 Body Problem, is fantastic. It's a sci-fi series about contact with other life forms. I'm not going to give too much away. It's a highly intellectual series. I thought I'm going to have a very hard time following the science, but you do follow it. Great series, great dramatic sci-fi series. That's on Netflix as well. And then there's one more I want to recommend before we get into the one I know you and I want to talk about. There's a film that's on Netflix. If you like sort of thriller, twists and turns, on the edge of your seat, it's a movie I recommended to you the other day, Anthony, called Your Lucky Day. And it's about, so it takes place at a convenience store on the eve of, I want to say Christmas or one of those holidays. And a person wins the Powerball right there. And there's a guy in there in the convenience store who comes up with a plan quickly to steal that lottery ticket right there. And the movie goes in tons of crazy directions. One of the best thrillers I've seen in a long time. I was on the edge of my seat, and it stars, and I can't think of his name. Unfortunately, he just passed away, but he was the star of the TV show Euphoria. And incredible actor. I'm sad that we lost him. Incredible actor, but Your Lucky Day is one I absolutely recommend.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch that. Just back to The Gentleman real fast. So I was so excited for the movie. So the movie comes out. If I told you twice I rented it, I tried to watch it. One time I fell asleep. Next time I just was zoning out and I just turned it off. And to this day, and I'm a McConaughey fan, right? Like, so I was like, all right. And I just couldn't watch it. I just never got through it. And then the series is phenomenal, and I was being glued to it. It's so good. I'm a weirdo, so I savor episodes. Like, sometimes I watch them twice. I talk to my wife, I go, well, let's watch from here. You fell asleep. She's like, I didn't fall asleep. I'm like, well, let's just keep watching.
Sure you did.
Right? Like she thinks I'm insane because I like to watch these things over and over again because I pick up little nuance. And I love the show. I just think the show's fun, and it's just a great one. So I love that piece. But, dude, the show everybody has to watch. I'm 2 episodes in. I love it. I'm savoring that. Go ahead. You tell it.
Yeah. So when I said Netflix is killing it, they did Gentleman, they did 3 Body Problem. Both of those series, I think, are still in their top 10. And now they did Ripley. And Ripley is, I couldn't stop. I watched the whole thing. Whole thing completely through it. Watched the entire series. I have to admit, I know you liked the movie The Talented Mr. Ripley back in the late 90s. I didn't love it. But
really?
I didn't love I didn't love the movie. I don't know. For some reason, I thought it was a little hokey. A little bit, the dialogue seemed a little forced. It just seemed a little soap opera-y at times. But the Ripley series on Netflix, I cannot recommend this enough to people.
What is 6 episodes?
It's 8.
8. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited. I don't want to burn through it. First of all, it's shot in black and white, and the setting, and it takes place, interestingly, it takes place in Atrani, Italy. All right? Like part of the
no wonder you love it.
Well, yes. But oddly, I was telling Todd this off the air, but Atrani is where, so my family it starts in Puglia. There's an area called Gargano. And they left. There was like a big brawl. And they left and they roll across to Naples area and the Amalfi Coast. And there's this little town called Atrani. And it's literally like a block and a half, a Philly block and a half long. All it is like, it's more vertical than it is actually horizontal. It's a small, tiny town with a tunnel that goes into the Amalfi Coast. And it was also the scene of Denzel did his, I don't know if if you like the Denzel movies.
I'm a Denzel fan.
I love Denzel. But he does the, where he's what's it called? The Denzel Equalizer. Thank you.
Equalizer, yeah.
Equalizer 3 is in Atrani. And he fights the Gomorrah. And so it's wild. Like this little town that I'm telling you, it's a couple blocks long, has the site of these two series. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm like, wow, Atrani. I'm like, no, I never even knew anybody knew about it, but our family's from there.
Yeah, must be hell of a tax break in there for the filming.
You're not wrong about that, VG.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't like the film. Had amazing. The movie had great stars in it.
You know what? I went back and I watched it again after watching this series, and I still didn't love it. I don't know. I don't know why. But the Ripley series on Netflix is, as you said, it's an 8-parter. It's, of course, as you said, set in these beautiful locations. But at its core, it's the story. It's based on these novels from the 50s, and it's about this guy who's a con artist, and he steals individuals' identities, and he gets away with it. And it's all pre-internet and pre-tech and all that stuff, so you can escape people for years and years and years. But there's something about this series. It's very Hitchcock in its style. It's for some reason I find it very relaxing. The attention to detail is amazing. The twists and turns are great. The acting is superb. So I said to you, Cuz, off the air, that in this modern age, some people may be turned off to it because it's in black and white. And of course, there's subtitles when they're speaking Italian. And it's funny, I teach entertainment law at Widener Law School. And I mentioned this to my class the other day. And the first thing one of the students said is, I can't watch it if it's black and white.
Really?
Yeah.
It never goes color?
Man.
The series
never goes color, VG. Never goes color.
What do I got a 4K QLED TV for? It never goes color.
Well, but you know what's amazing?
It adds to the vibe and the feel of it. Like, and you're right about it's a great analogy. It's very Hitchcockian, and it's got that like kind of vibe, and then the black and white only adds to it.
Well, to nerd out a little bit on it too, it is so beautifully shot. The lenses that they use, the just the way they shoot certain scenes. There's a lot of staircases in it, and staircases are a big theme in this. And it's really just a metaphor to represent the fact that this character is always trying to ascend, always trying to climb up in status.
Yeah, it's an amazing metaphor.
Sort of exactly. But it's credible. And there's somebody in it who plays Anthony plays Freddie in this. That's Sting from the Police. That's his child.
You got to be kidding me! Really?
Yeah, Freddie. What's his name? He plays Elliot Sumner. So Sting's real name is Sumner, Sting and Trudy, that's their child.
Wow. That's wild.
But this guy, so the guy who did this, again, I'm geeking out.
I love the metaphor of social climbing is so spot on. And that's what he's obsessed with.
Obsessed. And
Status.
the guy who wrote, created, directed this, guy named Steve Zillian, if you look at this guy's credits, I mean, this guy wrote Schindler's List, he wrote Gangs of New York, The Irishman. Yeah. I mean, and now he's directing this. You knew this was going to be quality. And I'm telling you, this is a great series for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it. Todd. Great
Good to be
stuff,
back,
buddy. We're back.
We're back, baby.
So this is a lot of fun. Every Friday, and we can go as long as we want. Because, before I get yelled at, and, long-winded, and conversations. I like diving into it. So this is like my dream format.
I love it. I love it. Two quick things, and then I'll get out of here.
Oh, wait. And VG's got something for you. So go ahead, VG.
Do you have any reality TV suggestions? Is that in your wheelhouse at all? I'm a big Love is Blind guy.
Yeah, Love is Blind's really good. That's
yeah, they've been giving me a bunch of static. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. That series is done really, really well. I do a lot of reality television. So I do all those Amish shows. I do just a lot of reality. And I do love it. I have to say, maybe because I'm biased, because I work on it a little bit. I represent the captains on the show Below Deck on Bravo. They keep finding ways to reinvent that series and make that series interesting. So as a reality series, I always recommend Below Deck.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. What's your last two quick things?
Last two things. I know we're talking about kind of shows you and I like, but for others, you want to watch something with your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. There's a film that's out right now called Scoop. I think that may also be on Netflix right now. It's almost like All the President's Men, Anthony. It's very it's about journalists who secured the Prince Andrew interview about what's his name's island, Jeffrey Elliott's island, right?
Yeah.
So it's about
Epstein.
how they secured Epstein's island. It covers how they cracked that interview and got a member of the Royals to sit down and do that interview. It's very good.
Wow.
It stars Gillian Anderson from the X-Files and a great English actress named Billie Piper. She's in it. So I recommend that. And then also, last thing, very funny, today on, again, Netflix, I think, I'm not sure, Good Times from the 70s was just rebooted as an animated series.
No way. Are you serious? Dynamite?
Absolutely. And, the producers are like, Norman Lear produced it, Seth MacFarlane, Steph Curry, and it landed today. Again, another Netflix series. It's a little controversial in that I don't know that it has the JJ character, but it's a reboot of Good Times in an animated version on Netflix.
My favorite was the father.
Yeah, you know who does the voice of the father? JB Smoove.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, at some point we're going to talk about Curb, too, like what you thought about Curb.
I love the whole final season. So, we could talk about it.
Yeah. Todd, great stuff. Go Flyers.
Go Flyers.
TV Todd. All right, boys. I hope you enjoyed the overtime.
Love it.
All right, because we have to get out now. I didn't realize it because we have the Eagles show, and Andrew's got to do our Eagles show. We're going to make sure we get you set up for that. Everybody, for JP and VG, have a great weekend. All right, we love you. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.